Welcome to the Freelancers Summit 2023, hosted by AfriBlocks, the Pan-African Freelance Talent Network. As we gather virtually and live from Harare, Zimbabwe, we celebrate Africa's dynamic gig economy and the future of work. Embark on this inspiring journey with expert insights, powerful connections, and limitless innovation. Together, we redefine freelancing, entrepreneurship, and beyond. Embrace Africa's talent and unleash the potential of our vibrant continent. The future starts now.
Hello, my name is Faith Gara. I am the Chief of Staff at AfriBlocks. Welcome to the third edition of the AfriBlocks Freelancers Summit 2023. Today we have come together to share our knowledge, our expertise, our insights, to learn from one another and to forge new connections and partnerships. As we all know, the freelance economy is growing rapidly in Africa, offering unlimited opportunities to individuals to work independently and to build more successful careers. But with this growth comes many challenges, from finding clients and managing projects and managing our own finances and just navigating through working with clients from different backgrounds and cultures. And so the purpose of the summit is for us to come together and share our experiences, share our success stories. We have come together today to build a network of support and collaboration to help all of us to succeed. And before we begin, I would like to thank all of our sponsors, our partners, our speakers. I would like to express my gratitude for the opportunity that you've given to us to grow and to learn from each other. And to all our viewers who are watching us from across the globe, thank you for your participation and your support. Thank you all, and let's make the summit a success.
Hello everyone, so this is the Freelancers Summit 2023, and this is one of the first discussions that we have. I'm Tongai Choto, co-founder of AfriBlocks. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm here with amazing colleagues, and the topic that we have here is one that I know everyone is looking forward to, around how do we grow more investments in African startup ecosystem. And the interesting thing though about the African startup ecosystem is it has actually been growing. And I was looking at the stats from the Big Deal, which is one of my go-to for how the performance has been going. And right now we just finished Q1, and globally it's minus 61% investment in VCs globally. But the interesting thing though is Africa is actually the one that is slowed down the lowest, with only minus 29% compared to all the other regions in the world. So you can say in some way that Africa is performing better than all the regions in terms of investment. So which brings me to my first to my first talk. I want to introduce our speakers. These are amazing investors that have been leading in investing in Africa. So I'm going to start, 1 minute introductions. I'm going to start with Femi.
Thanks, Tongai. Hello, everyone. My name is Femi. Femi Awoni. I lead the Google Black Founders Fund in Africa initiative, which is Google's way of supporting Black-led businesses around the world through non-dilutive funding and the best of Google. So I lead the program in Africa, and I'm extremely passionate about connecting startups with investors and helping to drive customer-centric innovation. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Thank you, Femi. Thank you, Femi. I appreciate it. George?
Hi, I'm George Payne. So I'm one of the investors at Adibus. So we're a Web3 focused fund. Have backed AfriBlocks, super excited about what they're building there. We have built a fund basically with the thesis that decentralization and crypto blockchain are incredibly important for Africa, and will be a crucial part of the technology infrastructure going forward. And so we're helping enable builders in that space with not just capital, but also looking at bringing in education and resources to help them scale.
Great. Thank you so much. Joseph?
Yeah, thanks, Tungai. I'm Joseph Lassen. I'm with CMT Digital. We are also a Web3 native investment fund. And much of our thesis is around the impact that the blockchain and distributed ledger technology will have in emerging markets, and a lot around kind of fund remittance and how money can move more effectively in emerging markets, and also offer services to customers that normally wouldn't be able to have them. So we're very bullish on the Africa thesis and are actively looking at investments in the space. So glad to be here today.
Thank you. I'll just dive in. The first question that I have to Femi, I know you talk to a lot of founders, you talk to a lot of startups. What has been the trend that you've been seeing in terms of, is it still, because it has been a lot of fintech, is it still fintech? Is it edtech, or now it's a bit, more distributed in terms of the founders that have been reaching out to you?
So it's interesting you say this, because I recently worked with Writer Bridges, the market intelligence company, on an investor roundtable for my advisory, and some of the interesting insights we saw was that fintech is still leading, as you'd expect. It's quite a bit of a mammoth of a sector, but we're seeing a little more diversification. So I would say, for instance, 2022, fintech remained the top sector, capturing about a third of the funding value. But we're seeing a lot more diversification moving into other sectors like clean tech and logistics and mobility, attracting more funding. Clean tech especially seems to be garnering a lot of investor focus of recent. So I would say you should keep that in mind and just watch the space. But yeah, so fintech is still the leader, but we're seeing a lot more of a spread of the pie as investors look to other sectors for, I would say, startup support and scale.
Great. Then this question towards to George. The regions, though, what have you seen? I know all investors have their thesis and what regions they target in, but what have you seen? Has there been a shift in terms of the big four, or now it's more distributed, like more different African countries have been getting investment? George?
So I think that we continue to see a lot of activity in Nigeria and Lagos, and I think partly because of the density of the population within Lagos and the fact that there's a lot of builders in the same space, and there's a lot of people, and so distribution of technology and ideas happens at a rate faster than what is seen in other sub-Saharan regions. I think that investors a lot of the time generally have to be proactive about having boots on ground and networks in other regions in order to pick up deal flow and also support the entrepreneurs in different areas. Because I think it's the first stage is getting into Lagos, Nigeria, and so that you always have like a big and very strong cohort of entrepreneurs there. We are starting to see it in other regions as well. So kind of proactively getting involved in regions further south. There are entrepreneurs and great builders, fantastic people doing stuff in those regions. A lot of the time it's about visibility and just kind of like getting involved in those areas. And so I would say that there's kind of the investor in the startup market suffers, as most other markets do, from asymmetric information. So you just don't necessarily have that visibility. And so the onus generally is on investors to get more involved in other regions to see more pickup in those areas. And then also just highlighting what those startups are doing. But we are seeing an increasing number from across Africa.
That's great to hear. That's great to hear, because I think to our viewers, including me, I know raising is difficult. Raising is hard in any part of the world. So I guess one or more question that most founders ask is, what? This is a question to Joseph. What, I would say top three. There are a lot of things, but what top three things that founders should make sure they have, or should make sure they take care of when they are they start going out to raise?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think probably the first thing that's the most essential is have a very clear problem statement and a very clear solution statement. So which problem are you solving? How did you identify that problem? And then very clearly, how are you solving that problem? And it'll depend on, of course, the stage of the business. If it's an earlier stage company, pre-seed or a seed stage business, a lot of investors will be interested in how does this idea scale? What's the competitive advantage? Why can you solve this problem better than somebody else? So answering those questions is very important. I think as you get into later stage, so maybe a seed, Series A or Series B, the most important thing is to show user growth and adoption of the solution. Are people using the platform that you're building or the company that you're building? So those would probably be the first two things. And then the third thing I think is really about team. And you have a strong, founder or co-founder who comes to me as a VC and has good past experience or very kind of strong network in where they're building. That usually speaks very highly in concert with the previous statements. So I would say those are kind of the top considerations for pitching VCs. Of course, there's a lot more, but those are probably the most important.
Great. Thank you. There's always been the talk about community as well. Like, as an entrepreneur, as a founder, to join other networks of founders, talk to other founders and, basically learn and share ideas. The question I have to Femi is around hubs. What role, if any, do they have to play in the success of founders, the success of startups, in them being able to raise and them being able to reach more customers based on your experience?
Thanks, Tongai. That's a really good question. So hubs have, I would say, a significant role to play just in the sense of ecosystem enabling and across a number of different pillars. So one is just from a business structuring standpoint. So a lot of founders tend to be dreamers and have this big vision that they have for their idea, which is usually when they encounter hubs. But there's an extra layer of really structuring the business to make sure that it's, number one, piloted and tested. Their solution is piloted and tested in the market properly. A lot of the foundational things around corporate structures are put in place. And really, they have an enabling environment to really grow that business. And this is where hubs come in, because hubs tend to support a lot of early stage companies, providing the right infrastructure, even if it's just down to space, which is very vital for an early stage company. And then you also have, when you layer the community aspect to it, where you're working through an idea or a business and you're literally surrounded by people that are trying to do the same thing, trying to cheer you on, and you're feeding off the different, I'll say even the energy, or feeding off the advice and mistakes that some of the founders around you have learned. And then lastly, and probably quite significantly, is the funding. So hubs usually are conduits for early stage funding. Examples would be, for instance, CC Hub, that's working on a 15 million EdTech challenge right now, looking to support about 72 EdTech companies over the next 3 years. They would, for instance, in this particular example, be a nice conduit through which people get a lot of their early stage funding, right, which they need to scale from one level to the next. So I would say hubs have an absolutely significant role to play, and we need more of them on the African continent.
Perfect. I think this brings me to my next question. If we're talking about tech hubs, there's also the question about accelerators. Are they helpful? At which stage should you join? And I want to ask this to George, because we are currently going through the Adverse program, which has been, super helpful in terms of what we're building. So George, what are your thoughts and advice on a startup that's, looking to get investment and also looking to accelerate in that regard?
I think there's a few considerations here, because we started the program, like the accelerator, because when we started writing checks into Africa, we realized that a lot of the material and a lot of the education that's geared towards entrepreneurs, like you've seen out of YC over like very, very successfully over many, many years, it's based on the assumption that there's the end user is this like Homo economicus that like can act rationally, knows how to spend money online, has access to like the latest smartphone, and that's generally what you're optimizing for. And that context doesn't necessarily exist in Africa. And a lot of the literature that's come out of Silicon Valley is not necessarily tailored or works as planned in Africa. That's not to say that it's not applicable. It just needs some kind of considerations and adjustments. And so what we did is we were saying, okay, well, we found these awesome entrepreneurs that are doing really great things. How can we bring education around, how can we develop like a program around kind of like enhancing that specifically for this context that we're building in? And that's why we've done it. So what we're trying to do is like be a value add once we've invested. I think that what a lot of African entrepreneurs need to be cautious of, though, is early stage accelerators that, you can give a lot of equity away for what is not necessarily that much help. And I think that there's kind of like a really, really sort of like fine line. You do need to consider it. Just because you've been, scouted for, found out about, and asked to join an accelerator doesn't mean you should do it. It can harm your raise later on. And that's a consideration. Obviously, it's a little bit different with Web3 because there's different kinds of raising and there's going to be different pathways that you kind of move down. But it's kind of the case that accelerators can be a great ad. Like we've seen it with YC, like that's responsible for just incredible amounts of value across the world. But you do want to be cautious of like what you enter into. And I think that, again, there's a fine line, like what we kind of like, a big part of what we want to do is increase the education for this context. So specifically for Africa, building out like actually how do you get from 0 to 1 in Africa? That looks different to Silicon Valley. That looks different to the US, to Europe, to the Eastern markets. And so I think that accelerators can be really helpful in terms of like developing that education and that wealth of resources for emerging market founders. But word of caution about entering into the next accelerator that you find or come across, because they're not necessarily going to be helpful down the road when it comes to raising, diluting your cap table and things like that. So that was just what I would say on that.
That's so interesting, because one of the things that founders should be careful about, when you're building and you reach a point where you really need that funding, but still you need to be very careful on, who you allow on your cap table, because you're thinking about today, but that's going to affect your future raise. That's going to affect, because when investors, I'm sure you know this, when you come in, you look at the cap table and that, affects whether you're going to invest or not. So the question that I have to Joseph, to our audience is, what are some of the things that you should be careful about as a founder when you are going out to raise? It's so easy for you to just accept and accept things that will potentially harm you in the future.
Yeah, I really like this question because oftentimes I think on pitch calls, entrepreneurs feel like they're the ones being interviewed. I think it should be both ways. Entrepreneurs should be interviewing the investors as well. So I think there's a few things that you can, as an entrepreneur, look out for. And I like what George said kind of about the specificity of specific markets in Africa. If you have a VC or an investor, for example, that maybe isn't familiar with the market or doesn't understand your value proposition and is looking to invest in the round, I think a good question for somebody like that would be, as we scale, how can you support us in an ongoing way? Because capital is good, and of course you need capital on the cap table, but also having people that understand, a market or a growth plan or have connections for a next round rather than being passive, I think is very important. Yeah. I think also as an entrepreneur, it's a very fair question to ask a VC to speak with the entrepreneurs of some of their other portfolio companies in order to understand how those entrepreneurs have found the investor. I think there are a couple of other important considerations. With the construction of the cap table, it's usually better to have kind of more investors, let's call it, 10 investors rather than one investor that will take the entire round. More investors will typically give you more value add. You can figure out which ones do, support the business in the best way. And then you can utilize those connections better going forward. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need to decide what you want from your investors as well. So do you want passive capital that's just going to write a check and then not talk to you for the next year or until your next fundraise? Or do you really want somebody that's on the phone with you every week, making introductions? We got this deal sheet from a customer. What do you think? I think that gauging that is very important. So those are a couple of things that I would really think about when you're seeking investment and speaking with investors.
Thank you. I think our time is almost up, but I have two more questions that some of our committee members have asked me before, and I guess the first one to Femi is, what other methods can founders use besides venture capital to be able to grow their businesses, to scale, and to be able, to survive basically as a startup?
Thanks, Ngai. So I think this question or my answer would depend on the stage of the business. Yeah. Because I think you need different methods or mediums of funding depending on whether you're early stage or your growth stage. But I'll focus on early stage because those tend to be the ones that need support the most. I think depending on the nature of your business, apart from equity funding, there's a rise in a lot of non-dilutive funding / grant funding initiatives that have come to the African continent that I think a lot of founders should look to explore. Yeah. And the reason why I say this is because, firstly, you're getting funding that doesn't affect your cap table, like Joseph was kind enough to kind of elaborate on. And you're also going to be able to get, and it's for lack of a better word, I'll use experimental funding that you can learn lessons from and make mistakes without it being, for instance, as expensive as equity or as expensive as debt. And we're seeing, depending on your sector, you see a lot of people coming into the African continent looking to actually provide this method of funding. I think people should be more proactive and braver in looking to apply for this medium of funding as much as possible. And I typically advise early stage companies to move away from debt. And the reason why is because as you're looking to solidify your business model, it's very risky tying yourself to the obligation of having to pay back funding, especially at typically high interest rates, considering the nature of startups as a whole. So I would say non-dilutive funding is the one that I would say as much as possible, especially those that are brought through by a lot of corporate entities, like the Black Founders Fund as an example, or by governmental entities looking from, I would say, innovation-friendly governments that are looking to spur growth for startups in their local regions. So that's the one I would say, especially for early-stage companies. The other funding types as you'd imagine, right now is very tricky. Like you said, funding in Africa is being impacted, not as much as other regions, but you still see the impact where equity funding is dropping. Or at the very least, you need to explain to investors a lot more why they should give you money. So I would say that as much as possible during this time where things aren't as straightforward to raise, non-dilutive or grant funding is the way to go, just to kind of cushion the blow and increase your run rate.
Got you. And yeah, just to add, I was reading the story of the founder, Calendly founder. Like he raised 500,000 and then he bootstrapped for years. So bootstrapping is something that's hard, but it's doable as well. As a way to keep going. And I get my final question to George is around this question. I've been asked a lot, and I get it, but some founders don't. Why do investors not sign NDAs? Why do investors not sign NDAs? Because a lot of people are like, this is my idea, whatnot. But I always say, your idea, it's fine, but the execution is the biggest thing. George.
I think it's and I kind of want to give the opportunity to other people as well, maybe if they have a comment on this. I mean, I personally don't, as like an angel or otherwise, want to go down that track because it does create this like massive bottleneck around just looking at stuff. I think that to an extent, it's almost a hallmark of someone who's it's their first time thing and they don't really know, what the funding process looks like, because they're like, oh, an idea is worth $1 million. Like, no, there's no such thing as $1 million idea. Like execution, the team, everything. And frankly, when it gets to the stage where they're signing an NDA to look at an idea, you can guarantee that idea has not been circulated or socialized with friends, advisors, mentors, or just like people who can just sense check it, because you'll get it and you'll be like, it hasn't actually been fleshed out. It's not worth investing. So I think that generally speaking, people need to also consider the fact that like no VC is really if you've done like a legitimate check and like you haven't just like randomly found someone online, it's going to steal the idea. We're looking at hundreds of deals a month, possibly more. We don't necessarily have, the direct domain experience. You have to build a team around it. So I think that the way that things get stolen is just kind of like, it's just not going to happen. They're more likely to back you if they think it's a really good idea because you have come up with it and you put the idea together. So I think, I generally would advise people against kind of like requiring NDAs for it. And the other thing as well is, it can come across as very strange as well. I literally recently got a doc send from someone, and I didn't open it, but somebody else did first, and it immediately signed an NDA as like part of, you click on to open it, and then it signed it for you automatically. And it was the weirdest thing. It freaked him out, and he was like, "Okay, this is super strange. Why would you sign? Like, it's not even like technically legal to do that." If you're going down, I would really just sort of like take a minute to be like, okay, don't like, just think about why you're requiring someone to do an NDA. If it's like a very different kind of technology, it's a hardware, there's proprietary information, there's like a patent pending, and there's like I don't know, I don't operate in that space, so maybe there are realms in which it does make sense. But software, fast-moving startups, like I would just generally avoid, advise against requiring NDAs.
Great.
I think I agree with all of George's points, and just very quickly, for a venture capitalist or an investor, it's a reputational risk to share ideas of founders as well that you don't have permission to share. So we are actually incentivized not to share ideas that we haven't been granted permission by the founder, just because then as an investor, you get that reputation and then you lose your deal flow. So our incentives are aligned, actually, not to sign the NDA.
Great. Guys, appreciate you. Thank you so much, for taking time out of your busy schedules to talk to our community. Any comments, leave in the comment section. Any questions, we have the information of the speakers on screen. You can reach out to them. But thank you so much, and looking forward to the next panel. Freelancers Summit is still going on, and our theme this year is Freelancing, Entrepreneurship and Beyond. Thank you.
Harness the power of Web3 with expert freelancers from AfriBlocks. From UI and UX designers to software engineers, connect with the best talent from across the continent. Post a job today on www.afriblocks.com.
Welcome to AfriBlocks, the Pan-African Freelance Talent Network. I'm Tongai Choto, co-founder and CEO. Since we started in July 2020, we've been working hard to not just develop an African talent marketplace, but to develop a marketplace that you, our users, have been asking for. That includes the features and technology you need to connect with the best of African talent and to collaborate seamlessly. I'm happy and excited to announce that we've taken a closer step towards this goal. Introducing AfriBlocks 1.0 Beta, the technology infrastructure for the future of work in Africa and beyond. This is by far the best platform we've ever made. Feel free to visit afriblocks.com to experience our growth with us. Now, let me share the top 3 features that I know our users will love. 1. Jobs collaboration. Now our customers can post jobs to the network and be able to receive proposals from talent and get connected to the most suitable freelancer for their project. 2. Wallet and payment integrations. Clients can make payments more securely and freelancers can receive payments in more ways than ever before. That include Western Union, PayPal, and very soon through Visa push to card and our internal wallet. 3. Voice and video calls. Our platform now allows you to talk to your client or freelancer one-on-one through our in-platform video calls and voice. Share files and get work done the new remote way. And as a bonus, you can create your own profiles and share with the world your skills, your business, and anything that drives you. Last but not least, I would like to extend our gratitude to the team, our developers, advisors, investors for believing in us and helping us through this journey in reinventing the way work is done. Now, let's launch this platform.
Hello everyone, my name is Mundamdenda, the Business Development Manager for AfriBlocks here in Kenya. Today I'm excited to welcome you to our new platform, AfriBlocks 1.0 Workstation. The AfriBlocks 1.0 Workstation streamlines the way freelancers and clients connect and collaborate. It offers a dynamic project management system, secure payment processing, robust communication tools, and a comprehensive rating system. On our platform, freelancers can access a wide range of job opportunities, showcase their skills, and receive dedicated support. Clients can also tap into our diverse pool of vetted freelancers with a focus on engineering, design, Web3 talent, and enjoy a seamless project management experience. Now, we are celebrating the launch of our platform, and for this, we are offering 10% off on all job posts for the month of May. So head over to our website and sign up today to start benefiting from the AfriBlocks 1.0 workstation. If you have any questions, our team is always here to help you. Thank you so much for joining us on this exciting journey. We look forward to seeing you thrive on the AfriBlocks 1.0 workstation. Let's build a prosperous gig economy together for Africa. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. We're still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2023, and super excited for you to be still here. We're about halfway through the summit, and with me here I have Vivens, and I also have John. They'll introduce themselves. Our theme for this year is freelancing, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And one of the things that we're super excited to be talking about is freelancing in general. Like, how do you become an effective freelancer? Is it better to work from home? Do you need a workspace? Things like that. And the team that I have here are experts in the place and the space, and they're going to be helping us tackle those questions. So yeah, John, you can start by introducing yourself.
Yeah, great to be here, Tony. Thanks for having me. I'm here together with the Vivens. So a bit about me. I'm the CEO and the co-founder of Workmanure. So Workmanure, what is it? It's a very simple platform. If you want to hire, for example, 5 people from South Africa or Philippines or Bulgaria, it's going to tell you how you do it. Do you do it by independent contractor, employer of record, or do you open a legal entity? Or if somebody's temporarily working in a different country, has it got a digital nomad visa? So we automate all of the tax, employment law, and immigration challenges around that in an algorithm, and then display a very simple dashboard that gets you straight away to the answer. So that's a little bit about me. My own background prior to Work From Anywhere is I was previously in the corporate world, so a 15-year career. I was a senior finance leader of a $4 billion division of a FTSE 100 company, so I got to see a lot of these challenges up front. And of course, I've been freelancing myself as well, and for me, I'm a very, very big proponent of it. So great to be back. Great.
Thank you so much, Vivens.
Okay, nice. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Vivens here, and I'm the CEO of Morava. Morava in English means courageous, and we are just building a talent marketplace and workforce outsourcing platform, and we are powering this with AI. Simply, we enable companies to find and work with Africa's talents, mainly in the digital economy. We are looking at the workforce around the tech, digital media and communications, and research and data. And to companies, we are becoming a one-stop shop for them to access all types of the workforce they want, moving from freelancers, service providers, consultants, as well as even the permanent hires, and now to talents and even students. We are becoming more of now a bridge to getting them into really the career they want, especially looking at how they have to be really embarking on skills development ahead of time so that they can be matched with their future and dream career opportunities. And I think we are on a good track. So far, in less than 2 years, we matched more than 400 talents with job opportunities in Rwanda and also to other African countries and also even around the world. And that's normally the brief around what we do. Thank you.
Got you. So our topic today is freelancing for students, graduates, building ventures. So I guess I'll start with you, Vivens, to talk about what freelancing is first of all, and what are the advantages. Talk about the flexibility, the ability to work remotely, and to improve your work-life balance. So just a quick run through of what freelancing is and why, you would encourage people to get into freelancing.
Absolutely, thank you. From the talent perspective, it's all about really, when you talk about the freelancing, not from a general definition, but from practical and what it is. I consider it as really a good framework around really being rich in skills, because most of the times when you decided to be a freelancer, first of all, you are accepting to be a service provider. And when you're a service provider, the only why people are coming to you to request their services, they are considering you maybe to cure the pain, the headache maybe they are having. And most of the times, it means that a good framework for building really your career and even developing skills, especially when it comes to the students and even these young graduates. And looking at how it is very important, it's because most of the times, this is something which will not require you be maybe asked a lot of really academic background, to be asked more of really different big frameworks around. Sometimes it's all about making sure that if you're a graphic designer, if you are a transcriber, or maybe if you're a translator or web developer, it requires to show or demonstrate, this is what I have experienced to do. Maybe this is my portfolio. And from there, you will get an opportunity. And another thing which is very important around it, it's something which really enable you to build your capacity very well. Because at the end of the day, when you are delivering the services, you want to be efficient, you want those people to come back, you want those people to refer you. It means you invest in skills, in the capacity, without anyone coming to remind you that please do this, do this. It's up to you to say, I want more clients, I want more expertise, and I want to make sure that I can probably leverage on the growth around, and it's good because it's a borderless, space where you can be here in Rwanda and you are able to service the global markets, which bring rich experience as well to someone. That's something I can comment about that. Yeah, thank you.
Understood. I do like, the work that John is doing at Work From Anywhere. And, just like, Vivens has been talking about, freelancing, sometimes you don't know what to expect. And, Work From Anywhere is building, that technology for you to say, if I want to be a digital nomad, if I want to move to Namibia, if I want to move to Rwanda where Vivens is, what should I expect? So I guess some of the question that I have for John is, if you're a digital nomad or someone who's looking to get into freelancing, what should you expect? And, from your experience and the data that you have been gathering so far, which African countries have been promoting digital nomadism?
Well, it's a great question. So I think one of the things I'm going to show you here, I'm going to share my screen. We actually, if you can enable screen sharing, Tanya, for a second, we actually wrote an article we published today with some of the most recent statistics. So I'm going to walk everyone through this to kind of set the context a little bit. So if I just open up my screen, here we go. So the first thing is what you can see here is back in the early 2000s, in the 90s, independent contractors were used quite a bit, but it's quite interesting. In a lot of countries, self-employment as a percent of total employment actually went down because a lot of countries were trying to basically encourage independent contractors to actually become full-time employees, because a lot of countries were losing the tax, let's say, dollars, Social Security and whatnot. And so there was a push for about a decade to try and pull people out of independent contractor. But what's happened in the meantime in more recent years is there's been a big push. You can see with, let's say, the gig economy, particularly, for example, transportation sector, there's been more independent contractors and freelancing in that particular sector. But where it gets really interesting now is that if you see independent contractors, the world of talent is going to go increasing again and again and again. You see it here from a World Economic Forum article that was published in the last 2 days. Take a look at this. Like, where is the next billion workers going to come from? Well, it's going to come from a lot of these countries. From Africa, the continent, from the continent of Asia, and you can see South and Central America as well. That's where most of the new talent is going to come from. And of course, how you engage that talent is the next question. In some cases, it'll be by opening up a legal entity. In some cases, it'll be using an employer of record, which are becoming used more and more. And in some cases, it will be used as an independent contractor. And where I'd like to kind of bring in the bigger picture of that is that if you look at, this is a really good one from Mercer. Previously, companies would just hire fixed jobs because they had fixed roles, fixed tasks, or fixed jobs, which made sense for many decades. But what we're seeing now is companies are becoming more and more like a game of Lego, where you're plugging in, you have tasks that need to be done, and you need to find the skills to match those tasks. And you need to monitor yourself and have the data around internally, where are your skills for various different tasks, but you also need to plug in external tasks as well. So for example, if you need to get a mergers and acquisition analyst for maybe 12 weeks, you don't need to hire somebody for that. They'll be very, very expensive. Instead, you could go into a number of, for example, the African countries, for example, and get somebody in there as an analyst, as a freelancer for those few weeks, and you won't have a massive risk of independent contractor classification. Of course, you'll have a few different, let's say, legal and other risks you need to, and tax risks you need to watch out for. But in general, the point I'm trying to make here is that this is where we see that future going from a fixed to a flow, and it will have a massive, let's say, impact and a huge opportunity for many African countries.
Got you. Yeah, thank you for sharing, the data. Because I know I'm based here in Harare, Zimbabwe, and freelancing has been growing a lot, particularly over the past 2 years. And now, I think the very first Freelancers Summit we had, probably like 12 people show up. And this year we're expecting at least, 1,000 people virtually, at least 200 people in person. That's part of the thing that shows, the growth. And one thing that I would like us to Vivens is around how the freelancing ecosystem is, the tech ecosystem is in Rwanda. You're based in Kigali, right? I think you're on mute. Yeah.
Thanks. Especially when it comes to Rwanda, first of all, as a country with good security is of doing business, many companies, even that wanted to invest in East Africa, they wanted to probably set their headquarters of Africa in Kigali. And most of the times, as the company, which is really good in terms of internet connectivity and even accessibility of digital tools, laptops, tablets, phones, now many people are moving online and even to the digital world and to digital workplaces. Then when it comes into tech and the freelancing ecosystem here in Rwanda, you find that now more and more tech and the digital-based talents are having probably more than one job. They are maybe full-time in a certain corporate here or even in a certain startup, but they are also at Murava looking for further freelancing and remote opportunities in our partner companies, which are either in Africa and even to America and Europe. So then you find that really the ecosystem is growing faster. And when you look at post-pandemic, that was the drive. Before, a few software developers were aware of the freelancing ecosystem, were more of the opportunities around remote working, but post-pandemic, now many people are like, please, we need more than one job, or we won't even need to move from corporate one to delivering, to doing more than two opportunities. Maybe I can be freelancing to multiple companies and organizations. You see that it's growing, and even from the country itself, you find that it's now really something to grow massively. Yeah, thank you.
Great. I think one thing that I would like, our audience to hear from John is around how do you manage, work-life balance as a freelancer. I still work from home, but I just got, I have a 1-year-old daughter, blessings. But, she now knows that this is my office. So every now and then she comes, starts to knock. So I'm like, I probably have to start to work from the office now. But, that's just some of the things that freelancers go through. How, from your experience, how do you, manage, time management, work-life balance, making sure you're getting the work done, making sure, you're spending time with your family, and things like that, and getting some sleep as well. Yeah.
Well, I think one of the things, linking back to some of the previous data that I showed, what it shows is that obviously a huge amount of talent in Africa, but a lot of the opportunities for companies who want to be hiring will be companies, for example, in the likes of Europe and in the US. And so that is going to create, in many cases, a kind of a time, let's say sometimes a bit of a time difference of a challenge in some cases. So, but for me, I mean, I found it in my kind of career to be wonderful to be able to have that flexibility. For example, being able to have the mornings free, go down to the beach, spend time with the kids. For me, what's been really important, I have kids. I mean, every individual is different. People from different countries have a different outlook on life and what's important to them. What you see is that in many countries, they might be more individualistic, maybe more with themselves, whereas in others, they might be more collectivistic, they might be more, closer to their family. So spending time with their family is important. I mean, certainly for me as an individual, I really need to be able to spend time with my family. It's a really, really important part of my own identity. And so making time for them. So when the kids come home, I want to be able to spend that time with them or walk down to the beach with them. But I think that's the beauty about freelancing, or being your own entrepreneur. It gives you the flexibility to decide how you want to build your own blocks of time and how you go about it. Now, I'm not going to lie. Obviously, it also means that there's a wave of demand, that sometimes you get opportunities and it means it's going to be punching in the hours. There could be some late nights. But again, at least you're the one that's in control of it. And I think as a freelancer, it's so critical to have multiple revenue streams, so that you have revenue streams that are related to your consulting, for example, that you might do. That's you working one-on-one, for example, punching in the hours. But also, let's say, online revenue streams or investments, or something that can be generating in some kind of revenue that's working while you're sleeping. That could be maybe an ebook, or maybe a course or whatnot. Just go into ChatGPT and play around to try come up with ideas. But I think the ultimate holy grail for freelancers, being able to have either some side gigs that are generating some revenue for you, as well as your core freelancing career. But ultimately, the goal for all of us should be to try and generate some kind of business that can be working while we're sleeping, to give you the most, let's say, work-life balance that you could ever imagine.
Understood. That's super helpful. Because I'm someone who's working like different time zones, but my mornings are super clear because most of our customers are Eastern Standard Time and PT. So that's something I experience on a daily basis. So I guess my next question to Vivens, what are the two things that you would advise someone who is working corporate, a 9-to-5 job, who wants to transition to freelancing, the two things that you recommend them to make sure they consider before they do that?
Okay. From the experience of what we have been seeing with really these digital nomads whom we have been working together with, the one thing, first of all, is to start experiencing freelancing and the remote working opportunities still at the time when they are still really in their corporate job, so that they get used to it. Because I can bet when you are in a bank and you are maybe doing accounting and doing more of a financial maybe analysis, when you are doing it internally in your company, in a certain company, it's different from really coming to be a service provider of accounting and financial analysis services. It requires a different level of expertise and maturity. Now you are more of owning the delivery, while in a company, you also even have someone to hold you accountable. So it's a different setting. I can, first of all, of course, as I said, first they can start experiencing that from their own jobs. And then another second thing is making sure that being a freelancer, you are self-employed. That's a business you are driving. So when they come as well, they might be coming to ensure that how do we package very well our services and expertise. So you understand the packaging of their skills, how they can monetize their skills is very crucial. And when you are aware about your package, it's easy for you to know this is how I can diversify or look for more gigs, more projects, and even really doing more reach out to different clients who might be in need of me. So those are the two things I can recommend for someone who wanted to move from corporate to joining the freelancing ecosystem. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. I do like the first point, like, you're still working for a company, you now start to, do some freelancing gigs on the side, start to know how it works, because I think there's this thought that freelancing is easy. It's not easy. It's
complex,
fun, but at the same time, it's still work. You still have to get work done, and there are challenges that come with any work anywhere in the world, anywhere you're working or who you're working with. So those are some things that you start by working your main job, experiment with freelancing. If that starts to take off, you build your portfolio there, and now you get more clients, because every client will ask you who or where you have done this before. Can I see the work that you've done before? So yeah, building a portfolio is the second thing that it's a takeaway from what you've just said. So yeah, thank you guys. What I want to do now is to just give you an opportunity, a minute or two, to talk about what our audience should expect from you, say in the next 2 months, how to reach out to you. I'll start with John.
Yeah, very simply, if you have any companies that you're working for that are not certain about how they hire from different countries, then tell them to feel free to reach out. We basically can help them understand what is the operating model. We either do consultancy, or we have our own platform that will help them get the answers in 60 seconds. The great thing, if you have any companies that are not sure about this, they can get a free trial for 7 days, cost them absolutely nothing, and they can get the answers themselves. So the website is wfa.team. They can go on there and take a look, and happy to help out.
Great. Thank you so much, Vivens.
Okay, nice. Of course, for especially talents or even some other people who wanted to join, especially freelancing and remote working environment, on our side, we always really promise these people that we can enable you to find job opportunities or training opportunities, because many will come without having probably even the skills of what it takes, but they are committed to learn. And even we can recommend them where the job market is going around the skills they wanted to acquire. So, of course, to the talents, to reach out to us, it's simple. It's umurava.africa. So that's the web, and looking at how, again, when it comes to companies and organizations, and that's how Freeblocks is doing it as well, and which I feel like in the future will partner in one way or another. Yeah. Because I'm sure that we are not more of a competitors, but there is a way we will partner. Maybe I will share with you the course with around how we can do it. The same with John as well. So if the companies are here and they need the quality talents, we are always here to serve them, either making sure that we understand what they're looking for, so that we can do the better matching of really the talents who can deliver the perfect services, even who can deliver the jobs very well. And also for the people who want to connect with me on LinkedIn, it's Vivens with Iman, and I'm always open to any communication. This being company, being a talent as well, I'm always ready to chat with someone. Yeah, thank you.
Perfect. This is amazing. Thank you guys for talking to our audience. The topic was freelancing for students, graduates, building ventures. So if you're a student, just like we mentioned, when you're working in corporate, you can do freelancing on the side. When you're a student, you can also do freelancing on the side, so that by the time you graduate, you can probably transition to this full-time. So thanks a lot, John. Thanks a lot, Vivens, for joining us. And thanks to our audience. Any questions, drop them in the comment section. Let's move on to the next session. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sean Burrows, and I am honored, truly honored, to be giving today's keynote speech to the Freelancers Summit 2023. I hope you're all locked in, and I'm ready to give you really some insights. So I'll just jump right in. I am the co-founder of Ingressive for Good, and I also am the founder of my own consulting agency where I focus on operations, tech integrations, and investment readiness. I think before I get into some of the things that I achieved, it's fair to note that in my lifetime, I have seen issues, I have seen problems, I have had to fight my way up from just the bottom. And I think that the many places that I have failed, the many places where I didn't show my best self and I learned from those situations are just as important as some of the successes I've achieved in my career as well. So with that being said, I have been the person where I have not performed up to task on jobs. I've lost many jobs. I've started off at the bottom. I've started off washing dishes in restaurants, taking out the trash, cleaning the bathrooms, all different types of things. I've knocked door to door, selling upgraded phone services. This is pre-cell phone, just to age myself a little bit. I remember graduating from Jackson State University and graduating knowing that I didn't have any job prospects. I didn't have any interviews set up. I really didn't have anybody looking for me with my amazing degree. I've worked in warehouses in the heat of summer and in the cold of winter, tossing boxes of all shapes and sizes into the back of trucks and trying to build a wall so everything doesn't fall apart. And I say all this to say that the world that you're entering in, it's a very, very cold and straightforward world. Back in the day, our parents used to go and look for jobs and work for the same company for years and years and years, and then they leave and they get their, maybe it's a pension or, there's the family set up and different things like that. But the world that existed before is different than the world that we are into today. And the skills that you all are picking up in today's conference around freelancing is more so fitted. It's more so in tune with the way that the world is going today. So again, I look forward to giving you a few tips, tricks, and insights from what I've been able to go through and what I've been able to recover from, what I've been able to build a platform and a foundation on and grow success from. So again, I'm really happy to be here. I am the founder of Ingressive for Good. And for those of you that don't know, Ingressive for Good is focused on increasing the earning power of African youth who are passionate about a career in technology. We focus on technical skills training. We focus on micro scholarships, which is getting laptops and tools to the people that need it the most. And we also focus on preparing people for job placement, which involves a lot of different steps. Throughout this process, what we're really big on is building a community around learning and getting that job you need, because we got bills to pay, trust me. On my personal venture, what I focus on is operations. But my general goal, and even across both the companies, what I'm passionate about is building an economic bridge between Africa and the diaspora. That's why I'm really proud of what AfriBlocks has been able to accomplish, and their focus on really investing and creating opportunities for African talent to find opportunities to get paid, to get money. So yes, we're aligned there. The theme for today that I want to get into is that, and we all need to understand this and we all need to agree, is that the world needs your talent. Say it again with me. The world needs your talent. Just to give you a bit of a history lesson, the African continent has been one of the largest suppliers of talent for the entire world for hundreds of years. And this has taken place in many different ways. You have around 700 AD where Africans came as conquerors, but moved into the European continent, and they brought their talent. They brought the way that they understood agriculture, and they taught this to Europe, pulled them out of the dark ages with these lessons, but taught them about agriculture, taught them about hygiene, taught them about so many different things regarding politics, all different types of things. And even today, when you go and you look at the European continent, you can still see the fingerprint that was left on the European continent. When you go to Spain, for example, if you look at the architecture, if you look at the fact that there are thousands and thousands of words that are still left within their language from those thousands of years ago, it shows you the potential, and it shows you what happens when African talent goes places and moves there with intent and with purpose. It worked at the national level or at the international level all those thousands of or hundreds of years ago. The same thing is true today. And there's also a side effect for when you are letting the market dictate your terms, when you are letting the job market kind of direct you and move you into all these different directions, because you're coming from a place of need, of what do you call it? Desire, even desperation in many ways. And this is what happened a long time ago with, around the 1500s. A lot of people from the African continent were removed against their will and shipped all over the world. And this led to, again, even with this happening, not to say that this is what was supposed to happen, but even in that space when, again, Africa was supplying talent, you found that we were the ones that made America a superpower. We were the ones that helped push and spark the Industrial Revolution. We were creating all different types of industries related to cotton, tobacco, all of these different things. Again, these were all functions of African talent, right? And why am I saying this? Why am I giving you this long drawn out history lesson? I'm saying this today because from what I'm able to see, and don't quote this, nobody is written this down. This is not a book. This is coming straight from me. What I'm seeing right now is a third wave where the world needs Africa's talent. And we can approach this situation both as a group, as a community, and as individuals. We can approach this from the perspective of take me, this singular person, I'll do with anything, I'll do whatever. Or we can really, really look at what the market dictates. And we can go out as people who understand what we want, who are creating our terms and are able to sell and push those terms. I know in a market where people are not necessarily, well, let's just be honest. There's a lot of employment. There's a lot of people who are looking for jobs, and what you won't do, somebody else will. So it makes it hard to say, this is what I want to do, take it or leave it. But at the end of the day, if you're able to position and sell yourself and show your value that you create and be very, very purpose driven with how you approach providing your talent and showing people, if you go with me, this is what you can expect, and showing progress and marking these things and looking at yourself not just as an employee or not just as a freelancer, but looking at yourself like a partner, we have the opportunity to make a major shift. And I believe that those people who can help make that shift are in this room. So with that being said, we have to look at what's going on now in the world. So in the world, a lot of the developed places that we're interested in going, those places are becoming older. They are finding that they have more people dying than people are being born. So they're looking feverishly to find talent from any and everywhere they can find it. And this is why you see a lot of people requesting talent from the African continent. So again, the world needs your talent, and we can come through there and take these opportunities with our hat in our hands and be just really, really thankful, which we should always be. We should show gratitude, but we can also understand that, again, the world needs us. And instead of going there with our hat in our hand and our head held down and just glad we got our foot in the door, we can walk in that door and say, you're welcome. You're welcome. I brought you my talent. I brought you something that you needed. I brought you something. I'm bringing something that the world needs right now. So again, if you look at the statistics, there's a Korn Ferry report right now that says that there's about an 85 million person gap in talent, in the world talent. For the jobs that are coming up, there's a shortage in human capital about the size of Germany that's going to equate to trillions of dollars of lost funds if they do not find the talent that you need. In fact, it is getting to the point now where the entire approach to how we identify and place talent and find the people that we need to support and run our companies has changed. There is a report by CoderPad, their tech hiring survey, where they surveyed about, I believe it was 14,000 companies. And what we were able to find is that they're shifting away from things as simple as CVs. They're looking away from things like 4-year degrees and whatnot. And they're looking at basically, they're taking people who have graduated from boot camps, who are getting online certifications and different things like that. And what they're doing now, as opposed to looking at these pieces of paper and making these assumptions, is they want to see the work. They want you to prove to them that you understand how to do the job and that you can execute at a high level. Critical thinking, problem solving. These are major things that you want to show progress within the projects that you're working on. They want to understand that you're able to learn and you're able to execute the things that are assigned to you. So one of the major things you need to do when it comes to finding that job, landing those clients, is show your work. Build out your portfolio. Focus in on it can be volunteer roles. It can be any number of different things. But again, what you need to do now is focus on showing your work. The freelancer economy, or the gig economy as they call it, it's not going anywhere, because let's just understand specifically what we're encountering here. As a freelancer, the people who are hiring you, instead of having to pay a salary, have somebody where they have to pay benefits, develop them, and do all of these different things, they've decided to cut that part short and go straight for buying the product or service they need to make it to the next step. If you're able to show them that you have the skills, you have the history, you have the ability to be able to provide them with the services that they need, then you're their person. You're the one that they're looking for. Again, so this is you being able to show your profile. This is looking at, some people are building websites that are dedicated to what they achieve and what they're passionate about. LinkedIn and other social media platforms, but especially LinkedIn, is a major platform that allows you to show exactly what it is that you can do, where you have worked, what your experience is. You're able to post content and different things like that, where you're able to position yourself as a thought leader in your own space. You're able now with the tools, with the YouTubes, with the Instagrams, with the LinkedIns, again, as I've mentioned, all of these different things are able to position you to be able to put your best foot forward and show them what you got. And in that space, sometimes you get close to the finish line and you start feeling like, maybe I'm not enough. You start encountering what we call imposter syndrome. And I've written an article about this. Hopefully you guys can look it up and find it. Maybe they'll share it with you, or you can reach out to me. But with imposter syndrome, there's this driving feeling that you're not where you're supposed to be. And I've always said, if you find yourself in the room, you deserve to be there. If you find yourself in the conversation, you're allowed to speak. You're allowed to put your best foot forward. You're allowed to show them what you are. And for me, and I really want to get into this because I feel like it's oftentimes fear and the negative voices that you have in your head that stop you from going and getting those contracts that you deserve, going and landing those clients and delivering at your top ability. You're no longer going there saying, I know what I'm doing, even though I have to ask questions and maybe I have to depend on mentors in my community, but I know what I'm doing. I know I can get this answer. I know I can get this thing done. And again, when you have imposter syndrome, when you have that dark cloud hanging over your head, it stops you from being that creative self that you are. It stops you from being able to find those solutions that you would be able to if you had a clear mind. So with that being said, for me, I always like to address this. I'm consistently addressing it. If you yourself want to defeat that feeling, remove that cloud over your head, there are really 3 steps that I deploy. And those 3 steps are quite simply put, stop putting people on pedestals, have a clear vision of your success, and prepare for the moment. All right? And in doing those things, you're going to find the best version of yourself when you're having the conversations that really matter. Because again, let's look at this, putting people on a pedestal. When you're in the room with some of these high level people, or you're talking to the person that's interviewing you, the person that's trying to determine whether or not you can work with their company, sometimes you forget that they're a person just like you. They have problems, they have issues, they have strengths, they also have weaknesses. Sometimes you don't exactly know what people have had to do to get to where they are. And if you did, maybe you wouldn't put them on such a high pedestal. So again, look at everybody eye to eye. Now give everybody the respect that their position and whatnot deserves. But again, just realize that they're a human being just like you. And if you can tap into that, that allows you to build rapport, build a relationship, and have those conversations that really start to show your soft skills. On the other side, start having a clear vision of your success. When you get in front of people and you're talking to them about what you can do, it helps that conversation when you know you've put in the work. When you know that you've created what success means to you. Not success in the way that people have told you, but success in this is what I want to achieve in my life. These are my values. These are what I want to do. And these jobs and these contracts help feed into what I want to do, what I want to achieve, and what my values are. Once you start putting that together and you believe in that vision that you have for yourself and you start working towards it and you're starting to see progress at the smallest levels, that's going to build some confidence within you. That's going to let you know that, hey, maybe I am moving in the right direction. The things that I'm doing it right. And although I don't have everything I need right now, I believe in me and I believe in what I'm doing. And I know that I can be successful if I just keep at it. That's the attitude that you have to have. That's a positivity that you have to have. That's the confidence that you have to have. And again, in the midst of all of that, also realize that the world needs your talent. You just have to show them that you're talented. When you have a vision, when you have your 5-year goals, when you understand what you want your life to look like, and when people start asking you certain questions and you can speak to it, it positions you differently. They see you differently. So again, have a clear vision for success. And again, prepare for the moment. If you're going to work with a client, start researching. What do they do? What are they good at? What are some of the gaps that they need to fill? When they're creating something, if it's something that's software-based and tech-based, understand what the overall vision is by looking and seeing, again, what are the core values of that company. When you know that you're going to speak to a particular person, go and do your research. Look that person up on LinkedIn and see what they're passionate about, see what they're interested in, and see if you can connect the dots between what you do and what you're passionate about and that person that you're going to be dealing with. Doing these things together It's going to really, really push you forward and give you the confidence you need. And again, I can't say it enough. The world needs your talent. I believe that the people that are listening to this are the type of people that's going to change the narrative for the African continent. You're going to move into these positions. You're going to take on these contracts. You're going to bring in these clients, and you're going to give them what they need, and you're going to deliver, and they're going to refer you, and they're going to come back to you. And the next thing you know, you're going to shift from being a freelancer to having your own firm, to having better job opportunities and different things like that. Because again, you're going to show your work. You know what I mean? You're not going to have imposter syndrome. You're going to have your own clear vision of success, and you're going to prepare. And again, if you need any help and any support, there are organizations like Ingressive for Good. And there's also the amazing founders of AfriBlocks that have built an awesome platform to help people identify and find you. So with that being said, I wish you the very best. We're on your side. The world needs your talent.
Hey, hello everyone. So we're still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2023, and the talks have been amazing thus far. But this one is particularly super interesting, and this panel, I love this panel because we have Caleb here in Australia, we have Margaret is in the UK, we have Audrey, she's in Namibia, and I'm in Zimbabwe. So this is just a whole international thing going on, and it's helpful, particularly with our topic, which is building startups, strategies for success. And the reason why we had founders from different parts of the world was to try to get the conversation into talking about different experiences, and the goal is to get to discuss how we can increase our rates of success as African startups. So I'm going to start with introductions to our speakers. They will talk about themselves. Starting with Caleb.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome to be here. So excited. I love diving into basically setting up startups and business models. So this is great. My quick background. So I sit on both sides actually of being a founder and an investor. My last startup was a startup called Entry Level, which is an ed tech, taught people how to get into tech roles. With that, we took it from, 0 to hero, raised 2.5 million and grew the team to 20 before I left to do investing. And then now I run a small fund called Proximity Ventures. So we invest in early stage startups. So I think I kind of get what it's like building the thing, and then now I get what it's like assessing the thing to invest in. So I bring sort of both perspectives. And then briefly, I also run a media company now called Tech Safari that writes about some of the best startups on the continent.
Great. Thank you so much for that introduction, Audrey.
Thank you, Tongai. So I'm Audrey Chanakira. I'm based in Namibia. So I founded the community called Zim Developers. Not really a startup, but I believe, the lessons I've learned from, starting that community also has some aspects of, how startups can be formed and can survive. So I'm professionally a mobile app developer. I focus on iOS applications. And that's basically me.
Great. Thank you for that introduction, Margaret.
Hi, so I'm really excited to be here today. So I'm Margaret, and I'm the founder of Ito. So Ito is an African food network times recipe box delivery company. We've been operating for just over a year now. Very exciting time for us. And apart from Ito, I'm also a fixed income consultant working in capital market space. Yeah.
Thank you. So I guess I'm going to just get in with our first question around, you have this idea, which I think, thinking about ideas, I have like so many domains that I've bought over the years. But the biggest thing now is, how do you move from that idea stage to getting into actually creating a company, creating a startup, getting a team? And I think the most important thing is, how do you figure out that this idea is worth something? So I'll pose that question to Caleb, since he has more experience, starting different companies over the years.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. When you have the idea, it's very easy to think like, yeah, this is amazing. I'm going to change the world. Like, let's go do this. Let's raise money. I think one of the things that you kind of want to optimize for, and one of the things that like, I think the best founders do, is they run very small tests. So like a question that I like to ask when I have an idea is like, if I think this is good and I think this could be real, what's like the 20-minute version of this? So how can I test this idea in like 20 minutes? What's like the scrappiest way I can put this out there and get some feedback, or see whether this is like, this can work or not? Yeah, so I think that's one of the models I'd like to use. And with Tech Safari, it was like, okay, could a newsletter like this work? Let's just try launching one and see if anyone cares. And people did, and so it sort of grew from there. And with entry level, we made a landing page, and we're like, okay, does anyone like the idea of, on-demand, education for tech jobs? And it went viral, and we're like, okay, people do like this. We can start the company. So, yeah, that's how I like to think about it. How do you do the smallest test possible?
Got you. Yeah, I do like the mention about test, because, it's very easy when you like something to just go in without any information. But if you have tests, if you have your data, if I've reached out to 100 people, 90 people say that they like this. If it's 2 people who say they like it, then it's probably, a better idea. But, that's super helpful on that side. The next thing now, moving on, okay, I've identified, people like this. I guess this is my next question to Margaret. I know you're building Ito, an amazing startup. How did you move from an idea to getting a team to start to build your MVP, test it out, get more users? How has that journey been for you?
So I think the key thing to do is to have a plan. And then in your plan, you're able to kind of identify, okay, this is how I'm going to structure the business. And then you also identify the resources you need for the business. So once I put the plan together, I knew kind of what, if I needed to hire people in, I knew what skills I had and what skills I didn't have as well. So when I was hiring the people, it was to fill in the roles that I didn't have the skills for us to really execute. And then, once you've kind of got the resources, funding, the human resources together, and then you have a plan, you have a vision, then it's bringing everyone together, sharing the vision of the company, sharing the culture, and also as it's a startup, communicating that, we are a startup. I know this is going to work, but it's not going to be an easy road. And once everyone buys in, I mean, from the most junior person to me being the most senior person, then it's kind of easy to get going. And I think in Ito's case, the beauty of us is that I am in London. So I'm between London and Accra, but my team are in Accra. A lot of the time I'm traveling to either go see investors or, I'm just trying to push the business forward. And it's nice to have that team back home that are still, keeping things going, still kind of driving the business as if they started it themselves and they're the founders. So yeah, for me, it's have the plan together, identify your structure, who you need, and then get the resources for you to kind of execute on that. And I think, sometimes founders try to do it themselves, and that's, to me, it just doesn't work, because, if you're trying to build a big company, impact, you need the right team, and team is everything. So I think the success of Ito has been the team I'm able to put together, and everyone's passionate about what we're doing and understands the vision of the company. Yeah, so
got you. Yeah, I do like, because I always tell my team that the technology is not that hard. Unless you're building a spaceship or a rocket or something. But the technology, if you tell code that you want this website to be read, it's going to be read. But it's the people, for me, that's the hardest part. Figuring out who to work with, figuring out everyone is different agendas, which is fine, but figuring out whose agenda aligns with yours to build, you know, the idea that you have. Which brings me to the question, Audrey is a developer. So I want to ask you as a developer, what do you recommend founders do when they're moving on to the stage of building their product?
All right. No, thank you so much, Tongai. Well, honestly, you mentioned something very interesting. Dealing with people is not always easy. And from my experience being a developer, most of the times I have to start on my own. I have to make sure that I understand the technologies. I have to make sure that I do my research to say, okay, let's say we want to build our product, a website, for example. I have to do the research. What kind of website do we need? And think ahead in terms of scaling up, because finding the right people is not that easy, to be honest. Especially from my experience, we are a community. We are not really a profit-making organization. So most of the time you'd find yourself that you have to work with people that are willing to be volunteering on the thing. So it's very hard. It's not easy. So you'd find yourself as a founder, you are doing most of the stuff because you have a certain standard that you need to maintain. So that's one of the core things. It's good to understand the technology, especially if you want to tap into the tech. You know, people are speaking about AI these days. Do you understand yourself what AI means? Because you don't want to find yourself in a situation whereby you are misinformed and you are just all over the place, and then you are making, you know, costly decisions. So it's a very tough position to be in. But if you have some technical background, it's to your advantage because you are well equipped in what you need to do, how to get started. You already have that framework, you know, in your head. And then it's probably easier to choose the right people to work with because you know what you want to produce. So yeah, those are my thoughts.
Got you. Understood. And I do like, you know, the fact that you're talking about community, because I think earlier on, it's probably one of the biggest things that will help you as a startup. No one knows about you, but if you have a community around you that, you know, is supporting what you're building, that goes a long way. They refer people to your product and things like that. Unfortunately or fortunately, Caleb, when you mentioned that you're also an investor, it opened the door for me to ask you, what should founders do? And what's the process they should take from that idea to looking for funding? If it's if it's early stage, if it's pre-seed, what's the process you have seen from the point of view of being a founder and the point of view of also being an investor?
Yeah, good question. So I think the first question should always be, am I ready? Like, well, firstly, do I need funding? Am I ready for funding? So that question is, do I have something that is fundable, or do I have an idea that is solid enough, or enough traction or enough revenue, whatever your metric is? And that's different for the business that you're doing. But do I have something that here that's actually worth funding? That should always be the first question. And then it's also like, is your team ready to take that money? Are you ready to grow with that money? Because maybe you have the idea or the product, but your team isn't in place. You're not prepared to scale that team yet. And so that's another one. I think actually maybe most importantly is like, have you found product market fit or something that indicates that? I think that should be the first thing you have before you go ahead and raise money. Otherwise, you're going to have a very hard time. And it's hard to know what it's hard to say what product market fit is, but you know it when you have it. It's like when your server costs are so high because you have so many people trying to use your app, right? Like, or, you put something out there and it's gone. Like, you beta test something and it's just like in such high demand. So that's one of the first things. And that's what founders or investors really look for in startups. The other one is, is VC funding even the right thing for you? Like, I think that's a question a lot of people should ask. And for a lot of people, it isn't. Like, I bootstrapped my media company, even though I didn't need to. And I could have grown it a lot faster. Right now I'm doing all organic growth, no paid. And it's such a slog, and all my peers are putting money behind ads, and I can't do that. But I wanted to own the whole thing, and I didn't see it as a venture backable business. So I think that's some of the thinking too. For startups I do like to fund, I like to see something that looks like product market fit, a competent founder, or something that like shows that they're competent, whether that's a track record or just what they've done in this startup or previously. Yeah, and then I think the market is actually the most important. Like, are you solving something that really needs to be solved? As in, people will will value your product more than other stuff that they could be putting on the table. So
got you. Yeah, I think what you mentioned about figuring out, do I need funding? Am I going to bootstrap? Am I going to ask for my friends and family for maybe 10K to get started? Is it organic growth? Like, all of those questions, do matter. It's things that you need to ask yourself. And I guess my next question to Margaret is, how do you now figure out your business model, particularly how to make money? And I think profitability at an early stage is another conversation, but figuring out at least a business model to say, this is where we're going to get our money. This is how much we project to get this year, next year, and how can this become a venture scalable or fundable business? Yeah.
Okay, I will kind of talk to kind of what Ito's done. So we, for us, one of the first things we've done is we kind of looked at the competitor landscape and looked at their business models to kind of see what has been working for them, what hasn't been working for them. And then the second approach we took, because I guess we have already put our food network out there, we listened to our customers. So we put out a lot of surveys, understanding what are the problems they find when shopping for African food, what do they want to see more of in the market, and then we kind of took that away, obviously without releasing too much, but we had a lot of sessions internally, strategy sessions, where we basically took in their feedback. It wasn't necessarily to, just deliver a product that they want now, but it's to say, okay, these are your problems, but is there a way that Ito could give you a product that is far better than what you even are asking for at this stage? And also looking at the, looking at the future, where do we see African food moving? What can we do? So I think combining all those three things for Ito, so, looking at our competitor landscape, then talking to our customers, having our strategy sessions, and then I guess 4 things, and then looking to the future, we were able to kind of put all that together, and then that's what kind of formulated the Ito business model. And we operate kind of a multi-revenue stream model, so we're not relying on one source. It's just that we phase things out so we can really focus on the customer and the experience we give them, rather than trying to do everything at once. But yeah, that's the approach Ito has kind of taken, and so far it's been a success, I would say. But yeah, there's a lot for us to still do and get out there. So it's really exciting time for the business. Yeah,
got you. I think the multi-revenue stream, is a great idea, so that you don't just depend on one thing, and then eventually you figure out what's really working, and then you double down on that. So these are different strategies or processes that we also have taken at AfriBlocks. The next question to Audrey now is, the startup is here, the idea is here. Where do you get the users? How do you identify, like, this is my customer? Where is this customer? Who's willing to pay? Who's not willing to pay? All of those questions.
All right, thanks, Tongai. That's a very good question. So obviously, when you have a business, you want to start something up, you have to identify the problem that you're trying to solve. So that would include you also doing some research to say, okay, what is the problem and how are we going to solve it? Will people like it? And then you start from there. So in the context of my community, for example, Zim developers, what we identified was that, you see, we have social media, but we just didn't have that online presence of developers. They were all over the world, scattered, and there wasn't really any platform that brought people together to discuss about the projects that they are working on and all of that. So that was the problem that we're trying to solve ourselves. So we were like, okay, let's start on Twitter, for example, where most of our developers are, where they talk. Sometimes they post memes about technology, but let's start there.
So you should just identify your entry point, your starting point, and then you try to weigh out to see, will it work or will it not? So surprisingly, we started by just creating our own page. We called Zim Developers, and the Twitter page grew without us even we weren't even expecting that kind of growth, because everyone was now talking about it. Oh, have you seen Zim Developers? And what captured them, what made us unique, was that we were very active on the social media platform, trying to connect people. And people were very interested in that. We would have Twitter spaces where we would discuss with developers, business people, and have that platform where everyone meets. So when you identify that, you start to penetrate the market, and then you grow from there. So it's just identify a starting point, which problem you are trying to solve, and where are the people that you're trying to address, to say, okay, this is what we are offering. Are you interested? And then you start from there, and then you start working it out.
Got you. I think that's super important. Get started. You really need to get started and get the information and see what's working, see what's not working. I think we're close to the end, but I'm going to give you guys this time to talk about what you're working on and what people should expect, say, in the next 2 months. If you want to direct someone to register for something, sign up for something, you can go ahead. Starting with Caleb, I think maybe 2 minutes.
Yeah, cool. So as I said, I am actively investing in startups across the continent. So if you're a founder, you have something interesting, you've got something that's looks like product market fit, then reach out. I'm really keen to meet. And I write a newsletter called Tech Safari. So I cover tech in Africa, just talk about the best stories or the most interesting stories on the continent. So hopefully we can include a link, but it's just techsafari.io is the website. Sign up. It's the best newsletter on African tech out there. So
perfect. Margaret.
Yeah, so at Ito, we're actually super excited because we're working on the second phase of our business, which is our recipe boxes. So we're making our most popular recipes shoppable, and we're bringing convenience to the market. We're starting off with London first, but there is hopes to also, switch on also in Accra close together. So you can really find out what we're doing on Instagram first. So if you go to Ito Network, and then you'll see the community there. And then also if you go to our website, www.itonetwork.com, and then please do feel free to drop me an email, if you're a founder and you want advice, or if you just want to learn more about Ito, then you can reach me on info@msito.com, and I check my emails daily, like literally 20 hours a day. But yeah.
Thank you. And Margaret is one of our customers, one of our amazing, supportive, since probably like 2 years ago. And, I just thought I should mention that. I'm sorry. I appreciate you. Audrey, you can go ahead.
All right, thank you. So us as a community, we are planning to host probably one of the biggest Southern African tech events sometime next year. I've been to Nairobi in February, and there was Africa Tech Summit, and I loved the idea. There were people collaborate, businesses, we have venture capitalists that come. So we are planning to create that same platform, for our community in Zimbabwe, where other African countries can also come. And, we network, because that's all about it. We just network, and then we collaborate in many ways we can. So we plan to do it in Bluello, not Harare. So we're trying to also expand in the Zimbabwean ecosystem and not just focus in the capital city. So you do check us on our website for more info, or on our Twitter handles. So it's @ZimDevelopers or zimdevelopers.org, where you can find more information.
Got you. And just to add, we do have the hackathon in collaboration with Zim Developers going on tomorrow. It's an AI and Web3 hackathon. So do check out that one as well. But thank you guys. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you coming in to talk to our audience, talk to our founders and entrepreneurs. I know, we're all in different places, and, just taking our time to talk to other founders is super amazing and super helpful. Thanks a lot. And please do leave comments, do leave questions. Talk soon.
Bye,
Thanks
everyone.
for having us. See ya.
Bye.
Thank you.
Hey everyone, so yeah, we're still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2023, and super excited to have gone this far. Thank you for joining us. This next topic is particularly super interesting to me because I always say, in any economy, there are three main things. There are a lot of things, but there are three main things that I think are super important, which is communication, transportation, and finance. And on this topic, we're going to talk about finance, exploring the future of finance in Africa. And with me here, I have amazing colleagues. We have Peter, is calling in from Kenya. We have Charlene, she's calling in from DC. You're in DC, right?
I am, Washington, DC.
Great, perfect. So yeah, Charlene, you can start by introducing yourself, and Peter, and then we'll get into the conversation.
Okay, thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Charlene Federico. I am a Bitcoin activist and consultant based in Washington, D.C. Before I moved into the Bitcoin space, I had about 15 years of experience in the traditional finance world. And now I work full-time leading a digital assets consultancy called Mango Digital Strategies. And what we do is we help companies future-proof their growth through Bitcoin and learning about those corresponding technologies. In addition, I am the founder and host of a podcast called the Bitcoin in Africa Show. And in that show, we spend time amplifying the innovators, the fintech leaders, and the entrepreneurs that are driving this incredible Bitcoin revolution that we see across the continent of Africa. So look forward to being here with you today and look forward to learning.
Great. Thank you, Charlene. Peter?
Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Okwara. I am a software developer and consultant in the Web3 space in Kenya. I've had lots of experience around the blockchain space. I worked for the IOTA Foundation, where I was doing work around supply chains and exportation of flowers from Kenya to the UK. And also before that, I was part of EOS Nairobi, which is part of the EOS blockchain, where we launched our first block producer node in Kenya. And besides that, I also run other things. I'm also currently running a company called CareerGo, where we automatically generate cover letters and CVs for job applications. Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you, Peter. So I guess I'll start with you. My question, I guess the question that I always have from people is around, right now we have fintech unicorns in Africa. I think we have 3. But the fintech space is still shaky. It's still difficult to make payments. It's still expensive. So from your point of view as a developer, what do we need to do more, to get to the point where, more people are included in the financial ecosystem, as far as someone like my grandmother can be able to just send money to, I'm in Zimbabwe, she'll be able to send money to Nigeria easily, send money to you in Kenya easily. So what are we supposed to do as freelancers and as entrepreneurs and developers to get to that stage?
Okay, thank you so much, Tongai. I think at the moment, as Africans, I think we can try and build more products around this space. I think at the moment I've seen a lot of evangelism around this is what blockchain can do, this is what crypto can do. But unfortunately, I'm not seeing much financial products coming from us. So I think if we can, even if it's bootstrapping, not depending on funds, if we can bootstrap the funds and build these financial solutions, and also create awareness across the country so that a grandma in the village is aware of these financial tools, I think that would be really helpful. And that can also drive economic growth within Africa.
Understood. And you mentioned, blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. Like I've always said, there's going to be so many things that are going to come out there, but this technology and this crypto has stood the test of time. It has had so many setbacks, so many people. And the thing, with crypto, or any currency, bad things can happen in any currency. But unfortunately, with crypto, if anything bad happens, it's huge. And that's unfortunate. But I guess my question to Charlene is, how do we better protect people to learn more about this technology and be cautious and know that it's a technology, yes, but at the end of the day, we should be careful who we talk to. We should be careful how we share, what we share, and basically be secure if we decide to get into this digital space, which is supposed to give us more inclusion in the financial sector.
Yeah, so I think that's a great question. I think that the best way to protect people is to let them know that they have the power of choices. So a lot of times when we talk about crypto, when I'm talking about crypto in Africa, I'm only talking about Bitcoin, like you, Tongai. People don't think that they have viable, trusted sources, but they do. For example, BitNob, that is a Nigerian founded and led Bitcoin financial services company. You can buy Bitcoin from BitNob today. If you don't like BitNob, you could try Helicarrier. If you don't like Helicarrier, you can try Bitcoins. You can try Patricia. You can try Manchankura. There are a handful of viable Bitcoin platforms that are safe, that are reputable, that are African-led and run, and they're functioning today. So I think the biggest thing we have to do is educate people to say, hey, you don't have to use Telegram. You don't have to use WhatsApp. Those ways to buy Bitcoin are not safe. And they should be highly discouraged. You have platforms, you have folks that are committed to your ability to learn and also use this functionality. And I just want to go back to something that Peter said. Africa, and as the audience may know, Africa has one of the most fragmented banking systems in the world. But that is the opportunity, right? That is what sets Africa apart. That is why Bitcoin thrives and will win in Africa. Bitcoin is kind of getting in place of that fragmented opportunity and providing the payment rails that every African country has always needed. Not tomorrow, not 5 years from now, but right now. Everybody that's listening to this, that is here in the room, you can buy Bitcoin safely right now, probably in your African country. So all the exchanges that I mentioned, they may not work in your country, but keep trying. And just that last point, scams are always a huge challenge in Africa, but all over the world.
All over the world.
All over the world. It's so important to say that. In every market too, right? There are significant numbers of scams in the stock market. But the way you fight them with reputable sources of credible information and encouraging consumers to not trust and always verify every time.
Got you. I always say, Africa is in a unique position because sometimes we can skip technologies or we can skip the hype. Because, there's a time where, ICOs were all over the place. They blew up. It was a bubble. It's no longer going on anymore. And, not many African companies or startups participated in that space. So now we just basically skip the whole crazy moment that could have made a lot of people lose money. But that's why I guess I want to talk about Web3. Right now, there's ChatGPT. So basically, people stop talking about Web3 because there's this.
That's true. Distraction.
But what I think is, if a technology had its fundamentals right, if a technology was real to begin with, it will still remain, and there'll still be useful products that come out of it. So I guess this is my question to Peter. Like, what do you see Web3 becoming, say, in the next year, 2 years, particularly in the gig economy ecosystem in Africa?
So I think the next 2 or 3 years, I think development on Web3 is gonna be quite easy, because I've had friends of mine. Like, I have a friend of mine who's building summertime finance, which is also a DeFi protocol of his. And he made a statement where, like, he wanted to hire like a mathematician to kind of design some kind of formula for his DeFi yields or pools. But when he tried using ChatGPT, he was able to get what he wanted for that particular use case. And I think that developing Web3 products, whether it's in the Web3 space or the Bitcoin space, is going to be much easier. And even for freelancers, even I have experienced that, because again, I think AI is just providing this information out there, and it's making it easier for people to develop these products.
Got you. That's really interesting, because I think the other day I was listening to this song that allegedly was I think was Drake, and I was like, that really sounds like him. And one thing that came about, like, I think we're in a space where we're going to not know what's real and what's not, what's human created, what's AI generated. And the thought I had was like, blockchain has been talking about this forever. Like, you can actually, verify some of these things using blockchain. But, I guess that's an AI conversation. The question I have to Charlene is around, digital currencies and Web3, that intersection. Like, do you see more and more people keep on creating tokens, keep on creating central bank? I know you've been in the regulatory space, central bank digital currencies, or it's now a matter of using what has survived for this long and working with that, and even they talk about stable coins and things like that.
Yeah, so this is an interesting conversation, and there are several African countries that have either launched or are thinking about launching central bank digital currencies. I know in Nigeria they launched the Naira last year. I think the Central African Republic was thinking about a CBDC. My concern with CBDCs is that I just believe that it will create more of the same, high concentrations of power among a select few. And that's troubling for me. The other problem, I believe, in CBDCs is that, you don't fix this purchasing power issue. When it comes to many African countries, their currencies have been strategically devalued over time. So, and that shows up for everyday Africans by inflation. In Nigeria, inflation is 20%. In other countries, it's 50, it's 60, it's 70%. A CBDC doesn't fix that. It's just a digital version of an existing currency that is not serving the people of many African countries. So I have concerns about a CBDC. I think a better option is Bitcoin. Bitcoin, although Bitcoin is seen to be very volatile, Bitcoin gives you that purchasing power and gives you that sovereignty and that ownership. I will also say, the point on stablecoins. Stablecoins are very interesting. Stablecoins are very, very prevalent, used in Africa. Many businesses are using stablecoins to guard against the volatility of their currency. So I will say stable coins are definitely currencies to watch. I would say Bitcoin and stable coins. Beyond that, I get very concerned when I hear a company creating an Africa token or a empowerment token, because in my experience, what I found is those are tokens that are created to make the founders rich and everyone else poor, right? And the problem with those tokens is that they're highly centralized. They're controlled by the founders. And at any point in time, if those founders decide that they want to pack up and go home, they will, and they'll take your money with them. So, I would just guard against all of these coins that are supposed to create empowerment. Stick to the basics, stick with Bitcoin, take a look at stable coins. And outside of that, I'd be very, very weary and concerned.
Got you. It just gave me the question around security. And, in Zimbabwe, we do have EcoCash. I know in Kenya, there's M-Pesa. And I always say those products have been successful because they work.
That's right.
No one, wants to think, how secure am I, or it works. It has been working for my friend and my friend's friend, so I'll keep using this. So I want to ask from the perspective of freelancers receiving payments to Peter. Is it common? Do people actually prefer to get paid through M-Pesa or bank, or what are the preferences, and what would you recommend?
So in Kenya, what I've seen is, most people like receiving their cash in M-Pesa. M-Pesa has its limit. I think it's 140,000 Kenya shillings. That's the limit, which is like 1,000 USD or 1,200 USD around there. So
that's
is that a daily limit?
Yeah, it's a daily limit.
Okay.
Yeah, despite M-Pesa being like really fast, the daily limit is around like 1,000 USD, which is kind of curtails people from doing much. But most people prefer using M-Pesa. And also there's this, most people also like using these peer-to-peer trading websites, where like you can trade your Kenya shillings for Bitcoin or the other cryptocurrencies like Ethereum and things like that. So, yes, to say, in terms of receiving cash, I don't think people mind receiving it in Bitcoin or other cryptocurrencies, so long as it's like a stable cryptocurrencies. We also had stories of people receiving it in stable coins. So, so that's what I'd say for Philip.
Got you. I think that's really interesting. For Zimbabwe, EcoCash used to just be local currency, but recently they just added USD.
Interesting.
Yeah. So because people prefer getting USD, that's it. I know in South Africa they prefer getting the rand, because if you have the USD, you won't be able to use it anyway. So I guess that gets me to my next question to Charlene around how do we expand access and economic opportunity through whatever method that currently works. I know, as a freelancer, most of the times you don't have access to things like, loans. You don't have access to, if you want to, get a mortgage, healthcare. So how can we, not advice. This is not financial advice. How can we recommend, based on our personal experiences, on how to expand access to economic opportunities as a freelancer?
Yeah. So, I would say if you're a freelancer and, your first order of business is to really understand what's happening, and digital assets are changing the world. They're changing the world. And I'd say that Africa is one of the biggest markets for digital assets and cryptocurrency. So know that. So if you're trying to figure out where the opportunity is, consider that space. And I just want to say, you don't have to be a developer. A lot of people say, oh, I'm not a developer, so I can't offer anything. And there's so many Bitcoin adjacent roles that are viable. graphic design, copywriting, all of that. And so I think, to answer your question, Tongai, what can you do to expand opportunities? Put yourself in a position of power through education, learn about what's happening, connect yourself with resources so that you can build your skills. In the Bitcoin space, Kala.dev, so KALA.dev. They're an amazing program that is in place to design and train the next generation of Bitcoin and Lightning developers. There are lots of Bitcoin communities where you can learn about Bitcoin. Feel free to check out my show, the Bitcoin in Africa show. Our website is bitcoininafricashow.com, where you can start to learn about Bitcoin. But decide that you want to be a leader in this space and start to take steps to do that. The wonderful thing about Africa is that there's so many highly skilled professionals. Make sure that you're in a position to take advantage of this wave. And as a financial professional, I don't think I've been more excited about any financial technology in my entire career. So that should be a red flag or a green flag that it's coming. You didn't ask this, Tongai, but I have to tell you. So I was at the Africa FinTech Summit last week. Huge, this is the 9th annual Africa FinTech Summit. It was held in Washington, D.C. There were 300 people there. The number of U.S. companies, MasterCard, Visa, Google, talking about their investments in Africa. Incredible. The level of State Department presence that was there. So the U.S. State Department, I understand there might be skepticism there, but what I was looking for the number of executives and the commitments, millions of dollars of commitments to not just do aid, but to focus on trade. And so this is coming. Make sure you're well positioned to take advantage of it. And you do that by making sure that you're set up on platforms like AfroBlocks, making sure that you have fine-tuned your skill set. I know that Peter mentioned that he has a company that can help you with your resume. Get those things in place so you're ready. This is one of those things. You don't want to get ready. You have to stay ready. So when the opportunity comes, you can take advantage of it. And one last thing, one of the things that hurts Africa as a continent is in Nigeria, what we call Japa. That is when you leave your country to go overseas. What we're seeing now is you don't have to leave, which is beautiful. You can have a wonderful life. You can have a robust career and have the level of financial prosperity that you want, and not go through these freelancing opportunities. But you only get there if you're ready. If you're on AfroBlocks, if you have the skills and you're looking at the broader macro trends that are positioning Africa for success.
I really like the phrase that you just said. I'll probably make a t-shirt out of it just so you can stay ready.
You have to don't get ready, stay ready, because the wave is coming and you don't want to get left behind. And you also don't want outsiders to take advantage of these opportunities.
Understood.
You have to be in position.
Yeah, we always say, our platform, Pan-African freelance talent. So if you have a problem with that, we could, that's like our fail safe. If we say that, people either work with us or don't, but we're okay with that. I guess, closing out, I want to give you guys time to tell us, what you're working on and what, something about to launch, something that's about to happen, let the people know. So Peter, a minute or two to talk about, what people can expect from you, where to find it, if it's a website, if it's, social media, where they can follow you or check for updates or anything like that.
Yeah, so I think I'll just start with socials. So if you want to follow me, on Twitter, I am Peter Okwara. On LinkedIn, I am Peter Okwara. So from time to time, I normally write articles on Web3 and DeFi and Ethereum. So you can go in there and keep a lookout for any articles I'll release. Yeah. At the moment, working with AfriBlocks on a contracting gig. Yeah. So guys, get on there, put out your profile, so that you can actually get jobs and even be paid in cryptocurrencies. Yeah.
Thank you. Charlene.
Yeah, so I'm very active on Twitter. So on Twitter, you can find me at Char Fadarepo, so CHR Fadarepo. You can check out my podcast at bitcoininafricashow.com. We're on Spotify. We're also on Apple Podcasts. So if you really want to learn more about the exchanges that are strong across Africa, that's a great place. We also, on that website, we also have resources for people to learn about Bitcoin and learn about how they can play in that space. And if you're a company that's interested in learning more about how to use Bitcoin in your business, my consulting firm website is mangodigitalstrategies.com. Check that out if you want to talk more about how you can add Bitcoin to your business or think through the strategic implications of crypto. I'm happy to do that. So thanks. I look forward to hearing from all of you.
Great. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate you, taking your time out to talk to our audience. And, please leave comments, ask questions in the comment section. Still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2022. And our theme this year is freelancing, entrepreneurship, and beyond. Talk to you guys in the next panel. Bye.
My name is Nathaniel Taylor Leach, and I'm the Social Impact Manager here at DataCamp. And it is just a pleasure and an honor to be talking to you all today on this special event about DataCamp Donates, the program that has offered free scholarships to thousands of African freelancers through AfriBlocks over the past few years. I want to thank Roger and Tongai and everybody at AfriBlocks for being such amazing partners, as well as all of you for contributing all the hours and investing in yourselves and your futures to get those great jobs that AfriBlocks can offer. So now I'm just going to give you an overview of the whole program, the part you all play in it, as well as some new exciting features available on DataCamp that we really would love for you all to take advantage of. So I'm just going to share my screen and we'll get started. Okay, and first, a video.
I felt underappreciated, underworked, undervalued, and at the same time struggling to make a difference and put my name forward. I was like, I need to find a new job. And I was getting no traction whatsoever. I kept changing my resume, I changed my LinkedIn profile, and I was getting so desperate to find anything. And finally, I happened to actually have somebody reach out to me on LinkedIn. A woman named Sophie from Breakline had reached out to me, and she was like, there is this opportunity that we think you would be amazing for. I went full steam to DataCamp. I was doing all of the statistics classes, all of the Python classes, all of the R classes. DataCamp helped me with being very prepared for those interviews so I could walk in and feel confident about what I was doing in the interview. Two things that I just want to shout out. I highly recommend Breakline and DataCamp. They're both fantastic tools. I love them, amazing. They've helped me out so much, and I don't think I would be here. I wouldn't be at Google. But I think the other thing that's really important is having confidence in yourself. There's so many things in society that keep women down. You just have to believe in yourself, and if you don't believe in yourself, nobody else will.
All right, so that was Amanda Wade's story. And even though, and if one person can go from no data experience to a full-time job at Google, you all can go from some experience to landing tons of freelance jobs and full-time jobs through AfriBlocks. So hopefully that was inspiring. Now I want to give you an overview of DataCamp Donates, why it exists, and what we've done so far. This is DataCamp's commitment to social impact. We want to empower as many individuals as possible with data science skills by bringing fairness and innovation to the data science education fields with high quality and high value free learning, and by leveraging our relationships with current and new communities. And you may ask, why has DataCamp donated over $25 million in scholarships? Well, for all of these reasons and more, the program was born out of the COVID-19 pandemic. We all at DataCamp wanted to help people who are stuck at home without work, who wanted to make a career shift. The global unemployment rate is rising. Less and less people are attending college and finishing it. And the state of data science and computer science education in high schools and many colleges and universities is lacking and lags behind the most recent developments. So that's why we created DataCamp Donates. We teach people the skills they need to compete in the 21st century economy for free. We believe in equity, and we believe talent is everywhere, but opportunity is not. And that's why we are giving DataCamp away for free to those who need it most. So we have 85,000 scholarships donated in the lifetime of the program. 32,000 of those are active, ready to be used right now. We work typically with mostly nonprofit organizations. AfriBlocks is one of the only for-profit organizations because all of you get access to their services completely for free, which is why we're able to offer DataCamp Donates to you all completely for free as well. And I have a wonderful milestone to announce that I've finally confirmed that DataCamp Donates learners, after taking part in the program, have attained over 1,200 jobs, internships, promotions, and/or awards. Amanda Wade, you just saw, is just one of them. And if you're one of those people, let your admin at AfriBlocks know. Let us at DataCamp know. We will tally all of those things and would love to share your success story if it's something that you want to help us spread with the world. It's a young program with huge impact. A total over 200 partner organizations currently, over 350 in the lifetime of the program. 22,000 DataCamp Donates learners are currently active in the past 30 days on the platform, which is amazing. We're all over the world in over 90 countries, and as you can see in this breakdown here on the bottom right, the vast majority of them are in Africa. And here's just a few other testimonials. So let's talk briefly about learning on DataCamp. First of all, I just want to give a huge shout out. AfriBlocks rocks. Since July 2021, over 2,200 AfriBlocks and DataCamp Donate scholarship recipients have spent a combined total of 13 years, over 13 years, using DataCamp and earning over 33 million XP. A typical course is between 4,000 to 6,000 XP. Something like that. So this is just a monumental achievement. You all deserve a giant handshake and pat on the back for investing so much time and energy into DataCamp and by extension yourselves and your own careers. So what is DataCamp? It offers hands-on skill building. We believe in learning by doing. And we operate based off of this idea called the ALPA loop. Assess, learn, practice, and apply. Let's break down what that means. First, we have our assessments. These are timed quizzes where you can gauge your skill levels on a variety of technologies and take a lot of the guesswork out of what courses to take on DataCamp, because the system will provide you with recommendations based on your strengths and weaknesses. So this is a really great tool that I encourage you to either start or finish your journey with. As you can see, it's a loop, so it's designed to keep on going. From assessment, you should pick a course to start on, a technology or that you're passionate about or that you really need to learn more about for work, and go from there. All of our courses are comprised of detailed but easy to understand videos, as well as completely interactive exercises. The beauty of DataCamp is there's no need to download, install, or purchase any software at any time, no matter if you're coding in R, SQL, Python, Power BI, Tableau. You will be running the real product right there alongside your exercise in your browser. So there's really no limit to what you can learn and what you can practice on. Speaking of practice, we also have dedicated practice sessions. These are pure coding exercises that work great on the desktop as well as our mobile app. And we have many, and most of our 400 plus courses are also available on the mobile app. So even if a laptop or desktop computer isn't easily available for you, you can still get a ton out of DataCamp on mobile. And finally, we have projects. This is where you can apply the skills that you've learned in your courses on more in-depth problems that you can with multiple solutions. And you have guided and unguided varieties for people who want more or less hand-holding through this. Through our projects is how you get production ready. This is how you go from theory to practice. So that is just a brief overview of the sort of content that we offer on what we call the Learn campus of DataCamp. Now I want to give you a look at DataCamp Workspace. This is a new product that we are typically sell for extra money to our learners, but it comes as part of a DataCamp Donate subscription. Think of it as a Google Docs for data science, where you can build custom projects from our templates, create your own, import data sets from other external sources, and create data analyses right there within your browser. Here's a quick demo.
Meet Workspace, a modern data science notebook. Whether you're a skilled data professional or just getting started with data science, Workspace is for you. It's a breeze to get started. Create a new workspace, open an empty page, and connect a data source, or start from a pre-built template or dataset. These are great ways to get a head start on your project, so you can quickly begin unlocking insights. Workspace isn't just your regular notebook. It was built for seamless collaboration, so your team can ask questions, identify trends, and gain insights together. And with real-time collaboration, changes are instantly reflected and securely saved. Code in Python or R using a fully configured, cloud-based notebook, all without leaving your browser. There's no installation and technical setup required, so you can focus on what matters most, telling compelling data stories. All skill levels are welcome with Workspace's no-code tools. Publish and share your workspace with one click. Try Workspace today and uncover the power of data analysis at your fingertips.
So that is a quick look at DataCamp Workspace. Let's dive in a little bit more, shall we? So you can discover and share data insights effortlessly. Okay, it's a modern data science notebook built specifically for collaborating with others. All skill levels are welcome. Okay, the library of data sets and templates is constantly growing. Whether you're a beginner or you're an expert, you can get real work done in Workspace. You don't need to waste time on setup, installing right packages or the terminal. Just jump in and get started. And you focus on what matters. Data tools that work for you, not against you. You'll create stunning visualization with no-code charts, utilize AI tools, and once again, share your work with the world. This serves a great basis for a portfolio. What a better way to stand out from the crowd by having your resume, your CV, your AfriBlocks profile linked to publicly available Workspace projects, as we just said. And Donates teams have premium access to Workspace for free in their Donates groups. You have unlimited private workspaces. You can easily share workspaces, extra RAM, extra CPUs, 1 year revision history. So that's Workspace. All right, we're getting there. Next, and another exciting thing, DataCamp certifications. So DataCamp certification is an official recognition that an individual has achieved the required skill level as either a data scientist, data analyst, or soon a data engineer. And our certifications have been developed with the help of data experts representing a variety of industries, organizations, and roles. This is the high watermark for DataCamp. There's a reason why when you complete a course or a track, you get a statement of accomplishment and not a certificate, because we've been saving that phrase for something special. This is DataCamp saying this person is ready to be hired by any company at their skill level. The mission is to bring credibility to self-paced, non-academic learning by independently validating an individual's knowledge, skills, and abilities, enabling them to achieve their personal and professional goals. Our vision is to be an industry-recognized, credible, and valuable data certification that data job seekers strive to attain. And let's look at the numbers just from Q1 these past few months. Really amazing. Thousands of people all over the world are taking advantage of this. And DataCamp Donates and Classrooms users who get it for free are actually twice as likely than our paid users to get certified. They recognize the value of this. And in last quarter, we had 240 certified scholarship recipients. Our goal for Q2 is 265, and we need your help getting there. So please, please, please try to get certified. You can try multiple times. It's not easy, as you can see. The average pass rate is 22%. We do take it seriously, but this is a great way to make the most out of your DataCamp Donate scholarship. We certify roles at 2 levels: at the analyst, data analyst, and data scientist, both at the associate and professional level. Once you register, it begins a 30-day countdown to complete it. 1 or 2 timed exams with 45 to 60 questions each must be passed within 2 attempts. Then there's a practical exam, again, must be passed within 2 attempts. It's hand graded by a human. And if failed, you're locked out of the certification just for 14 days. Okay, so then after 2 weeks, you're ready to pick up and try again. There's no additional cost for trying to get certified either. And let's look at the associate versus professional market alignment. The associate certification is built as a stepping stone between just your average DataCamp Donates learner and a professional. So this is your entry-level certification. Competencies are aligned with entry-level expectations. Whereas the professional certifications, we're talking about mid-level expectations. Definitely recommend SQL to fully get the most out of these certifications. But besides SQL, you can choose to focus in either R or Python. So that, in a nutshell, was DataCamp Donates. I want to encourage you all to share your learner journey and success stories on social media with @AfriBlocks and @DataCamp, and use the hashtag DC_Donate so we can track them. Or if you're not a social media person, just share privately with your AfriBlocks admin. Let them know whether you'd like this data shared with DataCamp or not. We won't publicly make any of this information available without your consent. However, everyone at DataCamp wants to know about your success. It makes everyone feel great, and it adds credibility to our job data and to prove that the program is working. So even if you just want to tell us that you got a job and we can add 1 number to our job tally, that's a huge win. And if you want to provide us with more information than that, such as your name, the company that hired you, whatever you like, a testimonial, we'd love to hear it. And share your story. And if you currently have a DataCamp Donate scholarship through AfriBlocks, you'll have to reapply before May 31st to retain access, okay? A new application form will be made ready to you soon. If you've gotten a lot out of DataCamp Donates before and AfriBlocks, and you've gotten a lot of jobs, and you've landed that full-time position, and your life is pretty comfy, consider purchasing DataCamp if you can afford it. Our prices vary from country to country, so I can't tell you exactly how much it costs where you live, but take a look. If not, it is still not conceivable for you, absolutely reapply for a DataCamp Donate scholarship. We want you to help you get ahead so that one day maybe you or your employer would consider purchasing a DataCamp account. That's how we fuel DataCamp Donates through the sale of our product. So if you can help us get there, your impact will be magnified. So remember to check your email for the new so after filling out the application and getting approved, remember to check your email for the new invite to join the new AfriBlocks 2324 group to continue learning without interruption. Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure talking to you all, and I can't wait to hear from you and all of your successes and jobs. Take care. Bye.
AfriBlocks connects you with highly qualified web developers from across the African continent. Effective remote teams that get the job done quickly and professionally. Post a job today and get connected.
Hello, everyone. We're still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2023. And with me here, I have one of our amazing advisors and colleagues, Alex Cumming. She has been super supportive from day one. And this is now, the 3rd annual Freelancers Summit. And our theme this year is freelancing, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And, within entrepreneurship, we want to talk about what you should include in your pitch, how to pitch, things that, help investors understand your business better. And Alex is here to help us with that. Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Thanks for that introduction. Pleased to be here, and hope everyone's enjoying the summit. I know it's been a lot of hard work going into building it, and I think it's been going well for the last few years. So thank you for having me. So yeah, as Tanguy mentioned, I will be sharing with you all what investors want to see in your pitch. So a little bit about myself. I'm Alex Carmen. I'm based in Brooklyn, New York. I'm currently a strategic partnership manager at Toast, point of sale and all-in-one restaurant platform. And I'm also a venture partner at Going VC Partners and an advisor for AfriBlocks. Prior, I was an account executive at IBM working in our data analytics, data governance and privacy space. And from there went to MuleSoft, which was a Salesforce acquisition, doing customer success, working in banking, some of our retail and our social impact nonprofit. So basically these days, about 80% of my week is spent diligencing startups, whether that's for investment opportunities or for partnership opportunities. I am constantly reviewing pitch decks, being pitched, and interacting with founders. So wanted to share a little bit of knowledge there. So myself, like many other investors, we see hundreds and some thousands of pitches in a year. And having that information available that they need to see, easily accessible and able to be reviewed, helps them do their due diligence. So it mitigates the back and forth. And by being able to have that information quickly, it helps them move quickly through the process. And with those numbers, as I mentioned, hundreds of thousands of pitches reviewed a year, fewer than it's more likely to get into Harvard than it is to get funded. So just to give you, hopefully not deter you, but just give context as to how important it is to have that information. Also to align your pitch to VCs that are aligned to where your business is. So to start, investors want to understand your product. What challenge in the industry is your product uniquely addressing? We want to understand not too much of the technical details, but how is it unique? Are you all working at the cutting edge of data science? Is there unique Web3 technology? That's some of the cutting edge, but also there's some marketplace technology, but really understand the technical aspect of how you are addressing a challenge in the market. And that leads into the business model. So business model and revenue model are often used interchangeably, but they are different. So think of the business model as how you highlight the value your company brings to the market. So what is it that you're uniquely addressing through your startup? And the revenue model is how you generate revenue through the value that you created. So think of the business model as kind of an overarching umbrella and the revenue model as a facet under it. So I'm sure a lot of founders have seen the business model canvas. This is like the 101 of building a startup, but I think that this is a really good place to start and to think about all the different areas that you should at least have a point of view. Your business model is going to evolve, it's going to breathe over the years, but it's important to have a strong point of view as you start. And like many startups, they start off addressing a very narrow market. Sometimes they grow as they get more investment, as they get more users, they're able to invest and build a stronger, wider market share. But by having this really focused point of view and area of the market that you want to address really helps investors understand that you understand where you want to address in the market uniquely. And as you see here, the revenue model is a facet within the broader business model canvas. But before you're pitching any startups, you definitely want to have a strong position, understand your business model, understand which customer segment you're after, what channels you're going to get it. And then the key is like your value prop. How are you generating value uniquely that other organizations, other startups aren't doing? So to that point, another key attribute you want to see in pitches is your traction. We want to understand how many users are currently on your platform, but also how did you get them? Was it word of mouth? Was it digital marketing? Was it events? Do you have a strong sales team? How are you getting users to your platform? And another aspect that a lot of founders start off with is a freemium model. So, okay, freemium models might be to get users originally on the platform, but how are you converting them to paid? And then if you are generating revenue, we want to see that, and we want to see how much you're generating and the breakdown of these different revenue models to see which areas you're seeing a lot of success in. And maybe there's higher volume, but less money in certain areas where you're getting a lot of users, but maybe they're not using a lot. And then other areas where you have less users, but they're generating a ton of revenue. We want to see that breakdown and where a lot of your revenue is coming from and how it balances. And this leads a little bit into, we want to understand your historical data. So if you had peaks of users, we want to see, okay, what was the attributes of that? Did you all do a massive marketing campaign that brought in a generous amount of users? And also, did those users generate a lot of revenue in turn? And then another aspect is the cost. So as I mentioned, if I'm continuing this marketing campaign, was the marketing campaign so expensive? Did you get your ROI on it? Understanding some of your historical data helps founders have a point of view as to what future projections they can expect. Now, this isn't a prophecy. We don't expect this information to be 100% accurate, but it is important to have a point of view on your business and how you're doing in the market. I don't see a ton of financial models in pitches, but it is very impressive because it shows a founder really understands their business and they're able to understand what are the factors that are driving their success rather than just guessing. It gives a more focused point of view and data to support it. And then lastly, we want to see how much money you're raising. I think that's sometimes pitches don't always have a raise, and sometimes it's a little bit more informal. But if you are raising, we want to know, and we want to know how much you're raising and what your post-money valuation is and what series you are. So I think this is when I mentioned earlier on that we really want to be aligned to, what series you're working in, what markets, the technology. Having this information really helps investors understand, are you a good match for them? And I think just as much as investors are looking to see if they're a good fit for certain startups, they want you to be doing the proper diligence as well. Is there, advisors that are really strong in a domain expertise that would benefit? Is it their technology? Like what that you are as a founder really interested in, and making sure that you're aligned. So if you're an early stage startup looking for investment at a later stage venture firm, that's not necessarily a good fit. If you're focused on the US and maybe the venture firm is focused on emerging markets, it might not be a good fit. So making sure there's alignment there and being transparent about what you're looking to do, and also, how you plan to deploy those funds when you've received it. And then also timing. I think that's very important to make sure you all are aligned to the right timeline. And if there's any specific deadlines on when you're looking to close, make sure that's articulated so everyone knows what timeline they're working against. So that's some of the things that venture capitalists, investors want to see in your pitch decks. Thank you so much for having me at the Freelancers Summit. It's been a pleasure. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm Alex Carmen, and I'm also a Carmen _ on Twitter. Thanks for having me.
Thank you, Alex. That was super helpful information. Especially for first-time founders, for founders who've made it before. But all of that information is something that is very easy to ignore, or to just assume that investors don't want to invest in my company. But then it's because you're not really communicating what your company is doing, how much you're raising, and that's true. I've seen pitch decks that don't have the amount of how much someone is raising. Appreciate you so much. Thank you for coming through from New York. You're in New York, right?
Absolutely, still here.
Perfect, perfect. Talk soon. Bye.
All right, thanks for having me.
Sure. Hello, everyone. So we're still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2023, and it's been amazing so far. Our topic or theme this year is freelancing, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And I'm super excited to have a mentor, a brother who has guided us through the years, and who's still super helpful in helping us building what we're building. His name is Wayne Kimball Jr. and I'll let him, introduce himself and get into, the topic for the day, which is building high-performance teams, strategies for attracting and retaining top talent in a startup. Wayne, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tangai. And hello to everyone. I'm so excited to be back here for another year of the Freelancers Summit. Tangai and the entire AfriBlocks team, you all always do a fantastic job bringing together the very best of startups, entrepreneurs, and freelancers from candidly all around the world, but more specifically from the continent of Africa. And I couldn't be more delighted to be with you here today. As Tangai said, I really wanted to talk about how to ensure startup success and sustainability. But before I do that, let me introduce myself. So my name is Wayne Kimball Jr., and I have the pleasure of serving as the principal for go-to-market strategy, mergers, acquisitions, and strategic investments for Google Cloud. And in that role, I have the distinct pleasure of not only really driving the inorganic growth strategy and integration planning for all of the acquisitions in Google Cloud, but I also have the privilege of working with so many startups to ensure that they are not only successful, but to also make sure that they have an opportunity to get partnerships, opportunities, as well as investment opportunities with our organization. I have the distinct honor of serving on the advisory council, as well as the selection committee for Google for Startups Black Founders Fund, as well as the Latino Founders Fund. This is my second time at Google. I absolutely love the tech world, and I also really enjoy working with founders to ensure that they have the resources, the funding, but also the mentorship that they need in their growth journeys. So I'm here to help you, and I hope that you find what I'm going to share with you today to be beneficial and useful. Finally, I'm also an angel investor as well as a startup advisor myself. So I spend a lot of time in the startup ecosystem with both VCs, startups, board members, all of the like, and that gives me a lot of joy. So today we're going to talk about the 5-star method to being a successful and sustainable startup. Now, you heard Tangai mention that, we're going to talk a little bit about how to build strong teams. We're going to talk about how to have a really robust go-to-market strategy. But I wanted to add a few other things in there as well. And that's why I call it the 5-star method to success and sustainability for startups. Number one, when I'm looking to make an investment or when I'm working with a startup, I want the founder to be absolutely obsessed with the problem that they're trying to solve. Now, I know that that can be very easily said, and every person or founder says that they do that. But let's take a moment to think about that. When I say obsessed with the problem, I want to see a founder who has spent so much time digging in to understand the problem, to really be able to articulate that problem statement, who has taken the time to get to know the customers, really understanding, does their problem truly exist? Do they really have a solution that can solve the problem? Would people even care enough to pay for it? These are questions that I want you thinking about and asking yourself as you launch and continue to build your startup. It's really, really, really important to take the time to do the customer discovery and to be creative in your thinking. Now, when I say be creative in your thinking, it's really important to know that there are two types of creative thinking. One is expansive and the other is reductive. Well, you might be asking, what does that mean? When we say expansive, it's basically asking the question of what could I do? The art of the possible. What are all of the different ways that I could solve this problem that I have learned from my customer base or my potential customer base? The customer discovery is so important. In that expansive creative thinking, you're basically vetting out the various options. In the other type of creative thinking, reductive thinking, that's where you ask not what could I do, but what will I do? That's where decisions are made. So it's great to have options, but you have to get to a point where you make decisions as a founder, as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur in such ways where you are truly obsessing over the problem. But it's not just about obsessing on the problem. It's also really important that as you start building your business, you obsess over your customer, because then that still goes back to obsessing on the problem. Because once you have a strong problem statement and you're building a business or you're offering a service that is helping solve that problem, you also want to make sure that you have really, really, really great customer success. Love on the customers, understand how they're enjoying your product, asking them how they can help you continue to build your product. Because oftentimes, some of our best ideas, some of our best iterations on our products, on our startups, on our services come from the people that are using it or the people that are buying it. That's one way that you know that you will have sustainability, is if you have customers constantly coming back saying, hey, your product, your service, your startup adds value to me. Oh, but it would add even more value if you did A, B, or C, or if you focused on X, Y, or Z. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you will always do everything that they say. That's where the expansive part comes in, because you're focusing on all the options. When they're providing feedback, they're helping create options. But then the hard part comes when you have to do reductive thinking and really, really focus on making decisions around what is best for your business and how you want to continue to grow. So again, point number one in this 5-star method to startup success and sustainability is be obsessed with the problem statement and the problem that you're trying to solve. And also be obsessed with your customers. Point number two is dominate your niche. Now, oftentimes in the startup world, there are so many people, particularly investors, that will tell you, no, we want you to think big. And that has now created a mindset among founders that they are just focusing on the TAM. Oh, the problem I'm trying to solve is $325 billion opportunity. Oh, my TAM is 222 billion. Well, all of that's great, but I always encourage people to figure out your niche and dominate it. When I say that, I mean, figure out what you're really good at. It goes back to obsessing on that problem statement. Figure out what you're really good at and then double down on it. Once you have really dominated that space, you will then be able to expand into other spaces. Now, let's talk about that for just a moment. When you figure out your niche and you double down on it, it means that you are not limiting yourself per se, but it does mean that you are focusing on what you do well. Let's be honest. If we were to use the example of a burger spot, no matter where you go in the world, no matter what burger you like, the truth of the matter is that there are a bunch of burger spots, there are a bunch of pizza spots, there are a bunch of ice cream spots, right? Well, if McDonald's is sitting next to KFC or sitting next to Burger King or sitting next to Wendy's, well, all of them have burgers and fries. The question then becomes not necessarily, how do I outpace the other? Well, of course, competitive nature is good, particularly in business. But you want to focus on what you do well. It's clearly obvious that McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's can all exist and survive and make a lot of money while also competing with each other. That's what I mean by own your niche. Because when you go to one, their focus is on customer service. Another one, their brand is their French fries. Another one, their brand is, their burger and how they put the lettuce together and different things like that. So my point is, own your niche, and whatever makes you different, double down on it. The truth of the matter is, it's going to make you unique. It's also going to give you, competitive advantage, but it is what will help take you to the next level. Now, let me give you another example. One of the companies that I serve on the board of, we have been having conversations actually with some of our competitors, because we're in conversations about, do we want to go on an M&A journey, or do they want to possibly acquire us? Well, there's nothing better than when you get into a conversation and there's instant synergy instead of competitive nature, because even if we don't talk about mergers and acquisitions conversations, we can always talk about how to partner. And that means it's good for both sides. Now, in this example where the board I serve on, this particular company is super duper focused on the enterprise customer segment. So customers that have 5,000 plus employees. Whereas the company that was on the other side of the table that we were talking to, they're not good at enterprise segment at all. As a matter of fact, they have grown so fast because of their hyper focus on the SMB and small business market. My point is that both companies are highly successful, growing fast, continuing to get more investment and scaling rapidly. But guess what? They're focused on two different things in the exact same industry. Now we're talking about, okay, well, how can we continue to get more into the SMB world? The other companies figuring out how they can get more into the enterprise segment. Again, those things are really, really important as you begin to navigate and as you grow. The final thing I wanted to say here is, as you focus on dominating your niche, you absolutely have to know your business. When I say know your business, I mean, you need to know every number, every metric, because that is what is going to help you to be different and to defend yourself when the competitive nature ramps up, but also when people are constantly giving you feedback. That feedback is great, but it can also be distracting. So if you know your business better than anyone else, then you will be able to really say, you know what, that's a great idea, but I think that might take my metrics or my company into a different direction that we're not planning for. Or, hey, that's really good feedback. I think we need to implement it, but we need to implement it with these caveats based on what I know about my business. Focus your attention on the vital few things and not the trivial many. That's one of the things that I see people doing. They're not dominating their niche because they're trying to focus on doing too many different things all at once. Here in California, there's this restaurant, going back to the burger example, called In-N-Out. Well, some people love it, some people hate it. The truth of the matter is that when you go there, the reason why some people hate it is because they can't get a salad. They can't get a chicken sandwich. They can't get their ice cream with, certain types of cookies or, things to add on top. They are strictly burgers, fries, maybe some loaded fries, and milkshakes. That is it. They have been super successful because they have absolutely focused their time and attention on not only dominating their niche, but they focus on a few things and do it really well versus trying to do so many. And that's something that I see even in entrepreneurs or freelancers or startups, day to day. It's like they're too busy doing trivial things versus focusing on the vital few. So again, point number 2 was dominate your niche. Point number 3, within this 5-star method to success and sustainability, is craft a winning pitch and a robust go-to-market strategy. Now, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Why? Because I think so much time, energy, and attention is put into creating a pitch deck. Well, that's great, but the pitch deck is only words and graphics on slides. I want you to be thinking about the actual pitch, not just the pitch deck, and about that robust go-to-market strategy. You'd be surprised how many companies I talk to in a day, in a week, that when I'm talking to them, they are pitching, sharing their slides. And then I ask simple questions like, so how are you going to go to market? Oh, what areas are you going to be selling to? Is the product going to be the same in every geolocation? Will there be variances in the product for different customer use cases? These are all things I want you thinking about, because you can have a dynamic pitch deck, but if you can't clearly articulate your go-to-market strategy, then it's kind of like being dead on arrival, because the go-to-market strategy is what fuels your revenue. The revenue is what fuels your profit. All of that is what fuels interest from investors and what makes people want to put their money, their time, their energy behind you to ensure that you're successful. So when we're talking about a winning pitch or a robust go-to-market strategy, what does that mean? Like we talked about earlier in point number 1, you have to obsess over the problem. But in that pitch, you want to be able to clearly and quickly articulate the problem, how you solve it, the potential impact of how you will solve it, but more so, why the heck the person on the other side of the table that you're pitching to cares. And when I say pitching to, I'm not just talking about investors. I'm not just talking about partners. I'm also talking about the people that you want to hire. I'm talking about the customers that you want to buy from you. You need to have so much conviction, but also prove that you have thought it all the way through. That is what you want to be able to do to say, hey, this is how I'm going to solve your problem. This is how I'm going to change your world. This is how I'm going to add value to your space. But when you do that, you also want to be able to acknowledge headwinds. And when I say headwinds, sometimes that can be economic. Sometimes that can be within your industry. Sometimes that can be from a technology perspective. So what I'm saying here is you don't have to lay it all out that, hey, this isn't going to work, or we're going to have issues going there, or doing this. But it is important when you're talking to your potential customer, when you're talking to potential investors, let them know that you have thought it all through. Acknowledge where there may be potential gaps or headwinds, and how you and your product are even going to be able to get around that. It's so important when you are building out your go-to-market strategy that you can say without a doubt, these are my customers. This is how I'm going to target them. This is why I want to target them. This is how it's going to fuel our growth. Then you want to also think about, are you selling direct? Are you selling through the channel? How will you leverage partners? How will you leverage resellers or distributors? Or how will you use influencers? These are all things you have to be thinking about when building a strong winning pitch and a robust go-to-market strategy. Remember, folks, this is one of the most crucial parts of your pitch, of your business. Whether you are a startup founder, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are a freelancer, you have to be able to pitch. You have to be able to say, this is how I add value to the overall go-to-market and the ecosystem. So that's point number 3. Point number 4 in this 5-star method to building a sustainable and successful startup is building and retaining high-performance teams. Now, I pause here because I hear so many founders say, Wayne, we are actually not struggling on the go-to-market strategy. We're not struggling on fundraising. We're struggling on hiring and retaining the best talent. It's a real thing. And I need you thinking as if you are the person looking for the job. It's so easy to get caught up in the mindset of I'm a founder and you're doing everything for the company to be successful. You have to put just as much time and attention into building and retaining strong teams. Oftentimes, when I'm looking at pitch decks, I see that a large amount of their money is being put into the tech and into the go-to-market strategy, both of which are incredibly important. But what I would love to see is people talking more about how they are going to put money into finding the best talent to take their company to the next level. Now, don't be confused. It is important that you delineate how that money is going to be spent, because most investors will look at your deck and say, well, gosh, you want to put 50% of the money that I'm going to give you into building a team? You then have to make it very clear to them that A, you're not trying to take all of the money as the founder, but also that you're going to invest those dollars to ensure that you have really competitive benefits, or that you can do really, really impactful team building activities, or how you're going to go use that money because you need the best AI engineer. So you're going to have to be able to invest into getting that person either from one of the bigger tech companies, or hiring a great AI expert who's willing to provide fractional support. Again, be thoughtful about how you really want to build your company culture. As you grow and as you scale, it's so important that you're thinking not just about right now while you are a 2-3 person company, but you want to be building the culture as you grow. And it starts with those 2 or 3 employees, because you better believe when you become a 50,000 person organization or more, it all starts around how you were functioning when you were a 2 to 3 person company. How do you treat people? How do you ensure that there's work-life balance? How do you enable people to make decisions quickly? How do you empower your team to really have creative freedom within the realms of and guidelines that you set? What are you doing to make sure that people feel like they're truly human and that they can be their best selves at work? What are you doing to show the marketplace that you're different inside of your company? Because they see it outside too. And then finally, I would say, build a culture that focuses on feedback. So often I talk to people, and what it's really about is they just want to be heard. Now, that pendulum swings both ways, and that's why I'm calling it out, that you have to focus on feedback. Recognizing that feedback isn't always exciting. It's not always positive feedback, but it's feedback nonetheless. Conversely, as a freelancer or as an entrepreneur or as a startup founder, you have to be willing to take the feedback as well. These things are really important, because when you have a communicative and a really transparent culture that is based on and built upon feedback, you will then see the openness happen. You will see the transparency. You will see that people are beginning to enjoy working with each other more. You will see that they feel that even when feedback isn't good, that they know it's in their best interest, or that you mean well. That is the type of culture that you want. And in order to build and retain those high performance teams, you have to make sure that you're putting the money towards it, but then you also have to make sure that you're doing the things that don't cost money at all. And that is building a culture based around feedback, based around allowing people to bring their best selves to work, where they can really enjoy, but also remember the other simple things, like creating a culture where people are empowered, where they can make decisions, where they don't feel like they are constantly told no, or where they're constantly told that their ideas are bad or not welcomed. Focus on investing the time and energy, as well as the money, into building your high performance teams. Finally, once you get really strong talent, keep in mind that the same way you hired them from another organization, they can also leave yours. And that is why you really, really, really want to be thinking about how to retain them. So important, so important. And then finally, as we prepare to wrap up here, I want you to know that that fifth point in the 5-star method to building a successful and sustainable business is to build resilience in the marketplace. What does that mean? When I say build resilience in the marketplace, it means to do two things. To focus on what are the existing industries around your business, and then what are the local communities around your business, and then think about how you can invest into both. Let's unpack that for just a moment. When I say the existing industries around your business, what I mean is so often I hear in the entrepreneurial space, in the startup ecosystem, oh, I'm trying to disrupt something. Oh, I'm trying to be disruptive. Well, that's great. We want your business to be disruptive. As an entrepreneur, you want to bring new and different value. But when we say disruption, it doesn't mean that you have to push certain industries to the side or that you want to flip them upside down. What it actually means is that we need to be thinking about how to drive meaningful growth and how to build resilience in certain industries by way of the value that you provide from your startup or as an entrepreneur. Case in point, I'm here in Los Angeles. We have the Port of LA. We have the Port of Long Beach. There are many port cities all around the continent of Africa. Well, the truth of the matter is that there are always going to be supply chain. There's always going to be boats and planes and buses and trucks that are moving goods and people and things of that sort. So instead of thinking about how do we disrupt it, because there are some companies that are out there disrupting the space, you also want to think about, as long as the space is here, how can I be a good contributor to the industries around my startup to where, hey, I'm not necessarily trying to take money from them or to shut down their businesses. Instead, I'm trying to figure out how my startup can be a part of their supplier pool. How can I help them find good talent? How can I be either downstream or upstream from them to, again, provide value, even if it's not your core business? Because when you do that, they will also typically do the same thing for you. Hey, these are small businesses around their big corporation or around their industry, and then they want to come alongside you and use you as a thought leader. They want to use you as someone to have at the table when they're making big decisions about their industry. And then guess what? You're then on the cutting edge. You have a seat at the table, and you are able to continually refine, iterate, and grow your business. And similarly, when I say build resilience in the other industries and in the communities around you, is make sure that you are giving back to the communities that have helped build your company. It's so easy to say, but so few people do it. And when I say that, I'm not saying that you have to go write a check or dump a bunch of money, but be present in the communities that matter. And remember that there is work that you can be doing without always delivering an invoice or getting paid for it. Work where people will see that, hey, this particular company, they care about this particular issue because they show up, they're present, they invest their time, talent, and resources into this space to ensure that this industry around your company or that the community around your company, they see that you are making investments. I say that as the fifth part because I think we so often get caught up in what are the things I have to do to pitch better, or what are the things I have to do to grow my business and make more money and go raise my next round. But if you truly obsess on the problem, if you dominate your niche, if you build that winning pitch and robust go-to-market strategy, if you build and retain high-performance teams, and if you truly build resilience by investing in the industries and communities around you, I promise you that you will not only be successful, but that you will also be sustainable. because we don't want you just focusing on the right now. We want to see strong startups, founders, entrepreneurs, and freelancers today, tomorrow, and in the years ahead. Thank you so much to AfriBlocks and Tanguy again for inviting me to speak. It's been such an honor to be a part of the Freelancers Summit. And do know that you can always reach out to me, Wayne Kimball Jr. Take care, and thank you again.
Hi everyone, thank you for being a part of the Freelancers Summit on day one. We've learned so much, I had so much fun at the summit, and I hope that was the same for you. I would like to say thank you to all the sponsors that have come through to support AfriBlocks in our journey and in our endeavor to make this summit the biggest meeting for African professionals, where we can all come together like we did today to learn more about the world of freelance, to learn about business, and how we can become and participate even more in the global market. The Freelancers Summit is the premier event for all African professionals, and even more so, we're extending it to be a global platform. Now, as we close day one of the summit, I just want to urge you all to tune in tomorrow when we'll be live from Harare, Zimbabwe on day two of the Freelancers Summit. Thank you so much for being a part of this amazing experience. And if I don't see you tomorrow, I hope I'll see you next year. Cheers.